Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Izuku is obsessed with heroes, and met Kyouka Jirou and fall in love, part 1. So before we start, please go check out the author of this fanfic, Curious Pug 5, link is in the description, also subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's begin the video. Young Midoriya, you are worthy to be a hero, but you are such a fanba. Midoriya sat with all might in his office, having one of their usual chats in between classes. While they generally kept the topic close to schoolwork, hero training, or one for all, Midoriya decided to roll the dice on something else. Well, I've gone to your convention every year, and it's happening soon, so can I still go? Even though I have one for all? Midoriya said. He slid a flyer of the event in question across the table that separated the two. On the graphic was a picture of All Might in his former hero form along with a smaller picture of his now revealed true form. Even though the former number 1 pro hero was retired from duty, that would not stop him from partaking in his conventions to satisfy the country's people. Ha! Of course you can go. Just because you're a hero in training doesn't mean you have to be a stale robot. It's good to have a role model, or hundreds, since you love every hero. Just make sure you don't say anything about your quirk, of course, All Might said. Oh, I would never do that. Thanks, All Might. I'll have to get my ticket soon, Midoriya said, as he smiled wide with tears in his eyes. After he looked away from All Might, he saw the clock on the wall, and realized what the time was. I need to go now, class is about to start. Very well then. Have a good class, young Midoriya. I hear you are in for a good one today. All Might led Midoriya to the door, and bid him farewell, as he left for class. Now in the hallway, he sprinted in an effort to make his next class the hero course somewhat early. He passed a few students, who were confused, and surprised at the boy's enthusiasm for simply going to another class. 2 of the students he ran by were from Class 1A, and they were Yaoyorozu and Kyouka Jirou, who were also headed to the same classroom. Midoriya was with All Might again, huh? Jirou said, as she twirled her earphone jack in an emotionless fashion. Yes, I have noticed that they have talked quite a bit. Do you think they are actually related? Or maybe they happen to be family friends? Yaoyorozu said. I don't know. I can count on one hand how many times I've talked to that dweeb, Jirou said. I have never heard of that word before. What is a dweeb, Jirou? Yaoyorozu said with an inquisitive tone. A nerd, I guess. The 2 of them then entered the classroom, the last of the 20 to arrive. Most of the students were already sitting at their desks, although there was some action occurring between a few of them. Kirashima and Bakugo were taking friendly digs at each other over who was stronger. Ilda tried to stop them, as he was less than amused by their pre-class antics, and Uraraka, Ajiri, and Midoriya talked to each other about something related to homework. Jirou sat down at her desk, taking out the books and supplies for the class. Kaminari caught notice, as he adjusted his hair, and thought of something to say to his desk neighbor. Throughout the beginning of the school year, they had become well acquainted, with only Minetta being a closer friend to the electrical quirk user. Hey Jirou, what have you been up to? Not much, jamming away, Jirou said with a smirk. Cut that out now, Kaminari said in horror, while Jirou giggled. Man, I wish I could talk to a girl, Minetta said, sitting by himself while laying back in his chair, as he watched Kaminari. Shut the fuck up, Minetta, Bakugo then said, catching the entire class off guard. Can't you see Kirashima, and I am trying to see who's stronger? Jirou turned around to see Minetta looking at her, and then at Bakugo, with a scowl that they had never seen him have before. The vigor in his eyes was unlike anything that she had seen before. But that only amused Jirou, who could never take someone like him so seriously. You'll never talk to a girl, Grape, Jirou said, as she rolled her eyes. Not like I want to talk to you of all people, Minetta said. Jirou extended one of her jacks from her earlobes. She prepared to send it like a missile towards Minetta's eyes, but right before he could open his mouth to shriek, she caught a certain figure wearing all black clothing minus a gray scarf out of the corner of her eye. She quickly retracted her jack, as the class took their seats in orderly fashion. 3 seconds. Improvement, but still a waste of time. Irrational. You can pack your books up, by the way. We're going to the mock city today, Aizawa said, as he now stood at the front of the classroom. Yeah, training. Let's see who's more manly now, Bakugo, Kirashima said with a grin. I'm stronger, weird hair, Bakugo said, as he somehow restrained himself from leaping out of his chair to look at his red-haired classmate right in his eyes. Chill. We will be doing 2 versus 2 matches. Get into your hero costumes. Be quick. We cannot afford to waste any time, Aizawa said, as he yawned, and left the room. The 20 students of Class 1A were now wearing their hero costumes. They made sure not to waste a second, as they went from classroom to locker room, and from locker room to battlefield, since they did not want to have to deal with yet another scolding on rationality. They stood in a line, from left to right, while Aizawa joined them on the battlefield in front of them. He once more yawned before talking about the assignment. Heroes, unfortunately, must sometimes be forced to work with an ally in order to achieve their goals. You might not even know much about your ally's quirk, but that's how the real world goes. I used a random generator to pair you up. Once I announce your partner, go with them, and discuss your plan. Here are the matchups, Aizawa said, as he unfolded a piece of paper. First up, Bakugo and Kirashima versus Minetta and Ilda. Minetta. We must formulate a plan immediately. Follow me, Ilda said, as Minetta took his place next to him. After that, Yaoyorozu and Kaminari versus Jirou and Midoriya. As Kaminari and Yaoyorozu left the scene together, Jirou looked over to see Midoriya walking towards her. Although she did not know him that well, she knew that he would be a great partner thanks to him making up for her lack of hand-to-hand combat skills. Hey Jirou! Looks like we're partners, Midoriya said. Yep. Let's make a plan, Jirou said. Midoriya and Jirou sat at a table together, as they discussed their plans for their matchup in the mock city. A TV was also in the room with them, which showed the current matchup taking place on the battlefield, as they spoke. After a few moments of silence, Midoriya spoke up. So I have strength that will be good for combat. You have great hearing that can help detect the other two. Yaoyorozu can create anything she wants so she can make weapons, and other items that can aid them or even distract us, like a stun gun. Oh, and Kaminari can also use his electricity as a stun gun or to deal damage, and his combat is. You're mumbling, dude, Jirou said. Midoriya looked up to Jirou's face to see she had no expression. He bowed his head and gritted his teeth in response. Oh, I'm so sorry, I just got carried away. You're fine. I just couldn't hear you. Oh, okay. Well, you can listen for them, as they approach us. Once you hear them nearby, we'll make a run for it. We'll need to see what Yaoyorozu creates, because it could be something to help them attack, or something to help them hide, Midoriya said. Right. I can release my sound waves if you aren't too close, so they get distracted. Then, you come in, and deliver the finishing blow, Jirou said. Yeah. That should work, Midoriya said. The two looked up to the screen to see the climax of the first fight of the afternoon. Bakugo laughed out loud, as he stood on top of Minetta, while Kirashima allowed Ilda to surrender, and handcuffed him. Minetta also threw the white flag out, but Bakugo snarled, and released one more explosion for good measure. I'm glad we aren't with Bakugo. That dude has a death wish, Jirou said while twirling her jack. Yeah, I suppose, Midoriya said, thinking of all the things he could tell Jirou to back up her claim. I guess we're up. We just need to stick to the plan, and we'll be fine. Good luck, Green, Jirou said. Thanks, and good luck, Purple, Midoriya said sheepishly. Was it a good nickname? He never really called anyone a nickname besides Bakugo, who he called Kaken. Purple? Ha, that's a new one, Jirou said, the corner of her mouth smirking upwards. They walked down the corridor that connected the observance room to the battlefield. After a few minutes, the two now stood at the perimeter of the city, as they awaited the call to start. It was interesting to work with someone that you did not know well, especially Midoriya and Jirou, who never really talked to each other prior to this. But pro heroes are forced to do it a lot, anyways. Listen up. No excessive fighting. We aren't trying to kill each other, unlike what Bakugo thinks. Act like that, and you'll be going with him to see Nizu for a chat. Handcuff both of your opponents to win. Ready, yon, go, Aizawa announced over the loudspeaker. Jirou extended her earphone jacks, while Midoriya clenched his fists upwards. Green lightning shined from Midoriya, as he looked around the battlefield for any movement. It was time to put their plan into action. They ran towards the center of the city, while Jirou heard any sound besides their own footsteps. They made sure to not get too far from the edges of the buildings in case their opponents were above them. Once they were towards the middle, they stopped, and Jirou plugged one of her jacks into a building, while the other was inserted into the ground. Anything yet, Jirou? Midoriya said, now grinning, as he saw Jirou's power in action. Not yet, wait. Look back. Jirou and Midoriya turned around to see Kaminari and Yaoyorozu just a few sidewalk blocks behind them. They each wore black headphones, a sight too familiar to the earphone jack user. Damn it! Midoriya, we need to improvise, Jirou said, as she slammed her fist on the concrete building. Well, Kaminari said, as he tapped his headphones. Sorry, Jirou, but you know that we are here to win by any means necessary, Yaoyorozu said. Jirou clenched his fists. She and Midoriya were somehow able to come up with the perfect plan That was simple enough to perform if executed properly, but she could not help but mentally scold herself. How could she forget about the noise-canceling headphones that Yaoyorozu was able to create? Jirou? What's wrong? Midoriya said, walking up next to her. See those headphones they're wearing? They're noise-canceling. Which means my quirk is useless, Jirou said, as she shook her head. Yaoyorozu turned around, and created an object that had a black base. It was not too large, but it had to be held with 2 hands in order to use it. Midoriya and Jirou were unable to make out what it exactly was, though. Here we go, Midoriya said, lifting his fists, as green lightning surrounded him. Yaoyorozu turned around upon hearing him, flashing the object she made directly into their eyes. Spotlight! Yaoyorozu said. Midoriya and Jirou were blinded from the light, as they fell onto the pavement. They could not see anything, as it felt like they had been just staring at the sun for several minutes based on the intensity of the light. Yaoyorozu was able to make something that could blind them. They were shocked, but there was no time to think. Charged bolt. Kaminari then zapped Jirou, followed by Midoriya, by placing his hand on each of them. He discharged a little electricity from both of his hands, which was enough to give them a good shock, but not seriously injure them. After the shock, Midoriya and Jirou began to regain their vision, although they were weakened from both attacks. Yaoyorozu handed Kaminari the handcuffs, but before they could react, Midoriya and Jirou regained their footing. The electricity quirk user charged towards his opponents, but Midoriya activated one for all to boost his speed. He scooped up Jirou thanks to his adrenaline, and powered up strength, and dashed off down the road, as green bolts surrounded them, going down an alleyway, as they were now way ahead of their foes. They painted once Midoriya put her back on the ground. Midoriya, are you okay? You didn't need to, carry me like that, Jirou said while channeling her hearing in case the opponents were coming. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry if that was weird. I can run faster, so I thought that was our best chance to escape. Midoriya said while turning red. What's our new plan then? Jirou asked. Take these handcuffs. We'll stay here for now. Once you hear them approaching, I'll activate my speed boost. If I do it just right, I'll be able to take their headphones off of them, Midoriya said. After that, I can use my sound waves to make them struggle. Do you think you can put on one of the headphone sets in time before I release the wave? I should be able to. It's our only chance to win this, though, because Yaoyorozu will probably make a weapon of some sort to trap us next. Sounds like a plan. Green, here they come, Jirou said, as she plugged in her earphone jacks into her boots. Yaoyorozu and Kaminari rounded the corner into the alley, as they both held the spotlight to blind them. However, they had already accounted for it, and Midoriya jumped up onto the wall on the side of the building. Midoriya leaped over the opponents with a green flash, and stole the headphones from both of them on the first swipe. Jirou, now! Midoriya said, as he widened the headphones out, and put them over his ears. Jirou used her heartbeat to unleash a sound wave from her boots stereo. While Midoriya was shielded, their 2 opponents shrieked, as their eardrums had never heard such a loud noise before. They fell to the ground, and despite Kaminari trying to get out a last-ditch lightning jolt, Jirou avoided it, and handcuffed both of them. Team Midoriya and Jirou win. Next, Aizawa mumbled over the mic. Wow, that was so incredible. Great job, Jirou, Midoriya said, as he raised his hand out. Great plan, Green, Jirou said while she high-fived him. And it's definitely a good thing you got the headphones on. Kaminari and Yaoyorozu will be alright, they just need a few minutes, Jirou said. The 2 of them walked back to the locker room, ready to get out of their hero costumes, and watch the rest of the matches. Izuku Midoriya laid in his bed later that afternoon, scrolling through his phone while smiling. Despite looking at the guest list and cosplay contest for the upcoming All Might convention, there was only one thing on his mind, which was the fight with Jirou earlier. Midoriya had analyzed his classmates' quirks plenty of times, but there were still some students he wished to learn more about. Seeing Jirou up close, releasing sound waves, and the vibrations he felt throughout his body even with the headphones on was so exhilarating for him. Her quirk had always interested him due to its wide range of possibilities. He wondered if she would care if he asked her to tell him more about her earphone jacks. Midoriya put his phone away, and exited the dorm room. There was a directory next to the elevator, which displayed everyone's rooms, and other locations throughout the building. Jirou is on the 3rd floor, first room on the left. Got it. Midoriya pressed the button to go up, and the elevator doors opened after a few moments. Already on the elevator was Ilda, who was scribbling something in a small notebook. Ilda looked up, as he saw his classmate enter. Midoriya, as your class representative, I would like to know where you are going, Ilda said. I'm just going to see someone upstairs. Sorry about your flight earlier, Midoriya said. Ilda relaxed and nodded his head as he closed the notebook. It was certainly a tough defeat, but I learned a great lesson from it. I will apply it in future scenarios so I will be a better hero. Have a good evening, Midoriya, Ilda said, exiting the elevator and going the opposite way, as it was now on the 3rd floor. Midoriya went over to Jirou's room, and after making sure that it was the correct room number, he knocked on the door. Who is it? Is that you, Ishido? Midoriya heard through the door. It's, Midoriya, actually. Midoriya may not have the same advanced hearing as Jirou, but he was still able to hear something slam inside her room, followed by 2 clicking noises. The intensity then shot down, as Jirou carefully opened her door, cracking it open just enough so that she could fit through the doorway. Once she was in the hallway, she slammed the door shut. What brings you here, Green? Jirou said, as sweat formed on her face. So, about that fight earlier we had during training, I was wondering if you would be willing to share more details about your quirk. Midoriya said. Oh, sure. My room is kind of a mess right now, so why don't we go down to the common room? Jirou said, as her face turned red. That sounds great. Midoriya said, as he thumbed through his hero notebook to find Jirou's page. Phew. That could have been bad if he saw, Jirou thought. Jirou and Midoriya sat down at one of the tables in the common room. Midoriya began to jot down a few things into his notebook before Jirou even spoke, prompting her to twirl her earphone jack out of confusion. So, what do you want to know? Jirou asked. Everything. How your quirk works. How your equipment works. Anything you want to say, Midoriya said. Okay then. My quirk allows me to have jacks that extend from my earlobes. I have a better sense of hearing than most because of it, so I can detect where people are if I focus on someone specifically. Midoriya quickly wrote all the information down into his notebook, while Jirou continued to twirl her right earphone jack. She knew how intelligent her classmate was, but to see him dive deep into every word she said was fascinating. It was nerdish, sure, but he had no ill intentions, so she was okay with it. What can you do with your equipment then? Midoriya asked, stopping his writing. So I have boots and amplifiers I wear on my forearms. If I put my jack into them, it releases sound waves that can deal damage and cancel out other sound attacks. So that's how you created your attack earlier. You have a great costume with the equipment choices. I guess I can plug my jacks into anything to do it though, like a stereo. So that can change the strength of the sound waves, as well, Jirou said. Wow. So you are good for investigating and long-range attacks. What a great combo. Midoriya said. Jirou looked down at her hands after that. Sure, what he had said was true, and she relished her strengths while in combat. But her hand-to-hand combat was not so great. She knew how to use a blade, but if it came down to punching and blocking, she would be at a disadvantage. Hey, Mido. Well, if it isn't Jirou and Midoriya. The two turned around to see that Kaminari had entered the room during their conversation. He wore a smug grin on his face, prompting Jirou to bite her tongue. That was a good match, but man, those sound waves hurt. Midoriya, a great job, man, Kaminari said, extending his hand. Yeah, you two had a great plan. Midoriya said, shaking his hand. And Jirou, wow, you were like, a rock star out there. Kaminari said. Shut the hell up, dude. Jirou yelled, extending her jacks so they were mere inches away from his eyes. Calm down, I don't want both my ears and eyes destroyed in one day. I was just joking, chill. Kaminari said, as Jirou retracted. See you two later, Kaminari said, as a smile returned to his face. Jirou grunted, as she looked towards the table, doing all she could to avoid Midoriya's eyes. He wanted to say something, but after a freak-out like that, what could he do? He had never seen Jirou act so flustered before, considering she was one to usually remain calm in any situation. Was it an inside joke or something that he missed? It's not like Kaminari said anything insulting. Jirou, are you okay? Midoriya said. I'm just fine. Sorry about that. It's okay. If you want to, talk about it, I'll be here for you, Midoriya said. Jirou looked up from the table, and straight into his eyes. He closed his notebook, and got up from the table, patting the cover, as he put the pencil into his pocket. Thanks, Midoriya. I appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Thanks again, Midoriya said, as he left the common room, and went back to his dorm. Jirou remained at the table for a few more moments. She plugged her jack into her phone, and listened to Deep Dope. While taking in the lyrics, she closed her eyes, and thought about the day up to that point. Things had not gone as planned, and she still had some homework to do, but she did not mind. Midoriya isn't so dweebish after all, she said to herself, as she grinned. School had just let out for the day at UA, so the Class 1A students were headed back to their dorms. Jirou led the group back to the dorms, running up to her room before anyone else had even reached the building. Once she was in her room, she sat down on her bed and checked her phone for a few minutes. I just need to wait until the coast is clear, Jirou thought. She waited around 10 minutes before she got up from her bed. Now ready to go, she picked up her case that contained her base and left the room. No one was in the hallways or the elevator as she went to the first floor. Once a week, Jirou got permission to leave the campus to return home for a few hours. One of her parents would teach her a musical lesson, whether it was singing, the bass, or another type of instrument, and she would head back to campus the next day after enjoying a home-cooked meal. On days where it was only singing, it was easy enough to leave without being noticed. But today was a bass lesson, and she had to carry around her clunky, black case that people would unmistakably know holds an instrument if they knew anything about music. She was now in the lobby area, ready to leave, when she noticed a figure standing at the door. Tufts of green hair bobbed up and down as he entered the building, holding the door open, as another figure joined him. Jirou's pulse intensified, and she turned around. Crap, where do I? Oh, hey Jirou. Jirou, how are you doing? Jirou looked back towards the entrance of the dorms. Midoriya and Uraraka stood next to each other, both smiling, as they greeted Jirou. Hey. I'm just going home for the night. See you all tomorrow in class, Jirou said quickly, as she walked past both of them. I'm going home today too, actually. Midoriya said. Jirou stopped in her tracks and gritted her teeth. Oh, you are? Did you, get approval? I did. Just for tonight, because my mom needs some help around the house. I'll be back tomorrow morning, Midoriya said. I'll see you later, Deku. Uraraka said, as she left the room. Jirou then exited without saying another word. Midoriya decided to follow her despite his uncertainties, catching up to her after a few large steps. He then noticed the bulky case she held in her left hand. Where do you live, Jirou? Midoriya said, causing Jirou to jump. Whoa! Oh, Midoriya, I didn't see you there. I live in Shizuoka Prefecture, about 5 minutes from here. I live there too. I'm also about 5 minutes from school, so we must live pretty close to each other. I'm surprised we've never seen each other around before. The two walked together towards their homes, without talking to each other much. Yesterday had been the first time they had ever even interacted, but still, Midoriya did not want to seem rude by being quiet. He again noticed the case that Jirou carried. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a sticker with white letters on the side of the case, which read Deep Dope. He had never heard of the phrase before, and wondered what the word dope even meant. Jirou, if you don't mind me asking, what's in the case, and what does Deep Dope mean? Midoriya asked, now looking at Jirou. There's nothing as special in this case. It's just, something. Yeah, something personal of mine I'm taking home. Oh, Deep Dope, they're this punk rock band I listen to too. You probably wouldn't like them, but they're my favorites, Jirou said, her face now cherry red, as she had forgotten about the case that she had tried to hide from him. Deep Dope, I've never heard of them before. Midoriya was surprised at Jirou's nerves once again. Yesterday it was Kaminari's remarks, and today it was about her case. Why was she getting so flustered over small things? He decided to ignore it, and instead focused on Deep Dope, since she seemed calmer talking about them. They're kinda niche. You know, one of those bands that has a smaller fanbase, but almost every fan is hardcore dedicated, Jirou said, cracking a smile for the first time on the trek home. Maybe I'll listen to one of their songs, and see if I like it. Midoriya said. Oh, you might. There's my Kyouka. Welcome home, dear. The two students looked ahead now to see an older woman standing on the sidewalk in front of a house, with the gates of the driveway reading Jirou. Hey Mom, Jirou said, as she walked towards her, and leaned in for a hug. And who's this with you? A new friend? Mika said. Jirou looked back at Midoriya, who waved towards them with a smile. She had never thought of him as a friend before, considering they were barely acquainted, but the two had gotten along well over the past 2 days, and she even was able to talk to him about Deep Dope. She was more close to him than over half the class at this point, anyways. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Jirou, and our partners in a training session yesterday, and I was walking home with her since I live nearby. It's nice to meet you, Izuku. Feel free to come inside for a refreshment if you want. Mika said. I wish I could, but I have to go home as soon as I can. My mom needs a lot of help with some things around the house, and she'll be worried if I come back late, Midoriya said. Oh, how responsible. Maybe I need to do that with you too, Kyouka? Anyways, are you ready for your bass lesson? Mika said. Mom, Jirou said, quickly grabbing her earphone jack to twirl it. It was nice meeting you. Hopefully I'll see you around, Midoriya said, as he took off down the street. Once he was out of sight, Jirou turned around and grunted as she walked into the house. Mika followed her in, amused at how her daughter was still embarrassed by certain things. After completing the intensive chores that Inko needed assistance with, Izuku plopped onto his bed in his own room. He turned the TV on, and there was a documentary playing about Gang Orca. He smiled as he thought about all the times he would rush home from junior high to watch the hero shows. Unfortunately, he had less time to do so at UA, but he had seen them all at this point, anyways. Although he was happy to be in his own room for the first time in a while, he thought about Jirou and their conversation they had earlier. Deep Dope, a punk rock band. He had said that he would listen to one of their songs. Let's see here, Midoriya said, looking online. The first result that popped up was a music video called Heroes Are Dope. Midoriya put on his headphones and allowed the music to take him over as he laid in bed, finding the lyrics of the song to be quite different from anything he had heard before. But despite this, he tapped his foot rapidly to the beat of the song. Wow, this is really good. I'm surprised I've never heard of them before, but I guess that's why they're niche. He listened to a few more songs before he decided to download the album that Heroes Are Dope was on. It was by far his favorite song by the group, although he enjoyed each of the 6 songs he listened to. After he was done, he remembered how her mother mentioned how she was going to begin her bass lesson. A bass lesson, maybe she plays the bass. Hey, that's another thing I can talk to her about, Midoriya said while grinning to himself. And there, Kyouka finished playing the song Heroes Are Dope on her bass, as she wiped the sweat off her forehead. Generally, Mika's lessons would consist of generic music sheets that she composed herself, but she occasionally let Jirou choose her own song to finish off the lesson with. That's your favorite song by them, right? I can tell by the passion you put into it, Mika said. It's my favorite song, period. I love Deep Dope, but even this song is a step above anything else I've heard by them, Kyouka said. That's great, honey. I just wish you were this enthusiastic about your passion with your friends, and classmates too. Kyouka's smile faded into her trademark expressionless face. She got up from her seat with a grunt, packing the bass back into its case after 2 hours of hard work. It's just a hobby. It won't help me become a hero. I love playing, but that's all it is. No one else needs to know, Kyouka said. As Kyouka walked away from the music room that her parents had made in a spare bedroom, Mika briskly got up and blocked the doorway from her daughter. Kyouka Jirou! Who cares if it's just a hobby? It might not be a profession like your father and myself, but that doesn't mean you can't tell anyone. No one likes punk rock, Mom. All that people in my class care about are pop and hip-hop. No one listens to Deep Dope for crying out loud. They don't need to know what my stupid passions are, and they wouldn't care anyways, Kyouka said. Kyouka wedged herself through the doorway and escaped the room before Mika could counter. Kyouka ran upstairs to her bedroom after she dropped her backpack and bass case on the floor. Mika sighed. It was yet another moment of embarrassment for her daughter, and for what reason? She needs to learn that being unique is cool. She could make so many people smile through her music. She has too much talent to hide, Mika said, as she shook her head. Now upstairs, Kyouka laid in her bed on her stomach. She stuffed her head into her pillow, as she put music on her headphones full blast, trying to forget about everything that had transpired. Her heart was enraged, but she could not blame her mother. Mika did not realize how things were when it came to her music taste. Kaminari and Yaoyorozu did not even know who they were, outside of seeing a few posters in her room from the move-in day, and the occasional t-shirt she wore. But then there was Midoriya. He had caught her Deep Dope sticker on her case, and she could not believe that she failed to hide it better from him. She was somehow able to squirm her way out of giving in to discussing the bass, but she was not so lucky when it came to Deep Dope. But she did not let that bother her though. She doubted Midoriya even remembered something so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Mom, Deep Dope is so cool. They have so many amazing songs, and some about heroes too. Have you ever heard of them? Izuku said. He was now in the living room area with Inko, watching TV now that all of the chores were done. Inko scratched her head before giving her reply. I've never even heard of them before, but I'm glad you like them. How did you learn about them? Inko asked while taking a sip of water. Oh yeah, one of my friends from class really likes them. They told me about them after school, and now I'm obsessed. This may sound embarrassing, but I kind of want to get a shirt or poster or something, Izuku said, hardly believing he already wanted merchandise from the band. Maybe that's what Jirou meant about every fan being hardcore, Izuku thought. You can go to the local store and see if they have anything. Just make sure you're back in time for dinner. That sounds great, thanks Mom, Izuku said. I won't be gone too long, I'll just go to that one store down the street. Izuku, before you go, tell me. Did All Might approve for you to go to his convention? Inko said. He did, and I can't wait, Izuku said, as he waved goodbye. After an hour or so of laying in bed, Jirou finally sat up. She grabbed her headphones and threw them onto the floor. As she stretched her arms skyward, there were several deep dope posters, along with various instruments, records, CDs, and speakers all throughout her room. Jirou had always been interested in music through all forms, basically being a collector despite listening to them all the time when she was home. Seeing all of the merchandise in the room gave her a thought. She got up from her bed and changed into casual clothes, with her shirt being deep dope themed. She walked downstairs to see Mika coming down the hallway while holding 2 bags. Are you feeling better now, Kyouka? I'm sorry if I was being pushy earlier, Mika said. You're fine. I'm going to cool off by going to the record shop down the street. Maybe I'll find a new poster or something. I'll be back later, Kyouka said, exiting the house. Welcome to the record store. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, the cashier said. Thank you, sir, Midoriya replied. The record store was about a minute from Midoriya's house, although the name of the store did not imply all that they had. As Midoriya walked around the store clumped full of merchandise thrown on the shelves, he saw that in addition to records and CDs, there were also posters, shirts, figures, and other things related to bands. There was even some All Might stuff on one shelf, the singing All Might action figure. Well, he did have a small role in a music video 10 years ago, so I guess that's why they carry some of his stuff, Midoriya said. While he dug through the various items on shelves near the back of the store, another person entered wearing a deep dope shirt. Hello, Kyouka. Looking for some more merch? The cashier said. You know it, Jirou said with a smirk. While Midoriya put back the last of the All Might merchandise, Jirou flipped through the CD cases in a bin by the front door to see if there was anything new. Sure, she could just download or stream the songs online, and she certainly did that, as well. But having a hard copy of the CD was also fun to have from a collecting standpoint. Meanwhile, Midoriya walked towards the center aisle of the store to find a display shelf with several deep dope items on it, causing him to squeal. Like he did with the All Might stuff, he began to dig through the items on the shelf, as well. Nothing caught Jirou's eyes in the bin, however. Having come to the store hundreds of times, she knew the deep dope shelf was in the center of the store, so she then went over to the particular aisle. But then she saw green hair. It's shit! She sprinted back to the front of the store. Looking all over for anything to take her mind off of what she just saw, she decided to rummage through the CD bin once more. At first, she was more surprised than anything else about Midoriya caring enough about music to come to this store. But then something dawned upon her. He was standing where the deep dope shelf was at. Does that mean, does he actually like them? Jirou thought. Feeling the tension she felt in her head subside, Jirou reverted back to her expressionless face. She approached the deep dope shelf once again. Hey, Green. Midoriya glanced over from the shelf to see Jirou looking at him while twirling her jack. He grabbed a black t-shirt that had the band name in white on the front while holding it out towards her. Jirou, I listened to some deep dope earlier, and they're so good. I just had to get a shirt of theirs. What do you think of this one? He asked. Jirou stopped her twirling. She had never met anyone her age around here that knew who Deep Dope was, let alone actually being a fan. Midoriya actually cared enough about their earlier conversation to listen to them, and he liked them so much that he wanted a shirt already? I think that you would look rockin' in it, Jirou said, the corner of her mouth now upwards. The two chatted for a few more moments, while Jirou looked through a few posters to see if there was anything interesting. She decided to treat herself to a newer poster based off the song Heroes Are Dope. That's my favorite song by them. I would get a poster too, but I don't think there's any room on my walls, Midoriya said. Dude, really? That's my favorite too. Are we more alike than we thought? Jirou asked. Well, I don't know, but it's nice to know another Deep Dope fan, Midoriya said. They looked into each other's eyes for a few seconds. They then broke eye contact to walk together to the cashier to pay for their items. Afterwards, they exited the store before having to part ways. See you tomorrow in class, Midoriya said. Yeah, see you then. I'm glad you like them, as well. Oh hey, what's your number? I can send some more suggestions if you want, Jirou said. Oh, sure, Midoriya said, as he rattled off his number. They then departed, as they headed towards their homes. The sun was beginning to crawl underneath the high-rise buildings on the sides of the streets, which meant it was almost dinner time. Jirou looked down in her bag to see the new posters she bought. She smiled once more, thinking about how she geeked out with Midoriya about her favorite band, after so many years of wanting a conversation like that. Now back at UA, Midoriya sat in his seat in the homeroom. He had enjoyed going home yesterday to spend time with his mom, along with being in his own bed again, and not to mention his impromptu meetups with Jirou. He listened to more Deep Dope that night, and packed the new shirt he bought for his trip back. It was Friday too, which meant everyone was in a good mood for the most part. "Hey, Mito bro. Where were you yesterday?" Kirashima said, as he walked past his desk. "I went home for the night." "Anything big happen here while I was gone?" Midoriya asked. "Not much in particular. Tsuyu scared a few of the others because she accidentally camouflaged herself at dinner, so it looked like an invisible person was eating," Kirashima said. "Hey, I heard that," Hagakure quipped, as the boys saw her shoes step forward from her desk. "Well, I meant unexpectedly, of course," Kirashima said, sweating, as he realized his oversight. "Jirou was gone, as well, which sucked," Kaminari said, as he joined Midoriya and Kirashima. "Well, I'm back now." The three boys then turned around to see Jirou standing next to them. "Oh, hey Jirou. I just noticed you weren't, here last night, so I was just making sure you were good," Kaminari said. "I'm as good as ever, thanks," Jirou said. "It's funny you say that, because we were, Midoriya paused. Jirou extended her jack, and locked it right in front of his nose. He glanced over to her before shifting his eyes back to where they were, not daring to make a move. "Crap, Aizawa's gonna be here any second now. Sit down, everyone," Kirashima said. While all the students in the room dived to their desk, Jirou leaned in towards Midoriya's ear, and whispered, "Don't say anything about what happened yesterday to them." Before Midoriya could respond, Jirou returned her jack, and also took a seat. Kaminari narrowed his eyes, but decided to not say anything further. Seconds later on cue, Aizawa entered the room in his sleeping bag. 2 milliseconds. Wasting 2 milliseconds can be the difference between life and death, as a pro. Irrational. "Now Yon, you'll be having a project that's mandated for all first years in the hero course. I personally think it's a waste of time, but I'm left with no other choice. That's because I was his excellent partner that stole the show." Present Mike entered the room with his typical upbeat stroll, leaving his best friend Aizawa to grunt in response. "Damn it, that's not Midnight ACK!" Minetta yelled. "Minetta, keep your mouth shut, ribbit," Tsuyu said while smacking his face with her frog-like tongue. "Aizawa." "Present Mike. What is the project about?" Hilda said, now standing up at his desk. "Please sit. You'll be split into duos, and you will make a presentation about a pro-hero of your choice except for me, and All Might," Aizawa said, glaring at Midoriya with red eyes on the last part, causing him to shudder. "Don't listen to what Aizawa here says about this project being useless. You will learn more about a hero, but you will also work on your public speaking skills, and, as your English teacher, I'm sure you'll all do great. I got to run, but don't let Aizawa talk down on this." "See ya," Present Mike said, as he left. "Who will we work with?" Yaoyorozu said while raising her hand. "The same people, as you worked with yesterday." "It would be a waste of time to spend 43 more seconds generating a new list," Aizawa said. "That means," Jirou glanced over at Midoriya for a split second, "I'm going to work with Midoriya again? Wait, he's always analyzing heroes, right? I'm guaranteed a perfect grade," she thought. "We'll discuss further details at the end of class. For now, let's start the lecture," Aizawa said. "Class dismissed. Behave this weekend. We'll do presentations on Monday," Aizawa mumbled to end the lecture, as he fell to the ground in his sleeping bag. The class cheered, as they left the room, as if it were a race to see who would return to the dorms first. Jirou was not so enthusiastic though, as she took her time clearing her desk. "See you later," Yaoyorozu waved, prompting Jirou to wave her jack towards her. "So, we're working together for the project?" Midoriya asked her, now the only two people left in the room. "Yeah, it looks like we are. You know a lot about heroes, right? I see you always take notes on them." "Who should we do?" Jirou said. "I have a few ideas already," Midoriya said, as the two walked out of the classroom together. "There's Gang Orca, Endeavor, Mount Lady, Fat Gum, Rocklock. Hey there, Fanbo. Sounds like that project was practically made for you." All Might waved from his office doorway, making Midoriya and Jirou come to a halt. All Might then held out 2 slips of paper, and motioned Midoriya to take them. The holder of one for all grabbed them, and looked at them, smiling, as he realized what they were. "Your tickets for the convention tomorrow," I figured it would be easier for you if I got them instead of you having to get permission to leave campus today just to pick them up. And I got you an extra one, as well just in case. See you tomorrow, young Midoriya, All Might said, as he shut the door. Midoriya's hands shook, as he could not even attempt to wipe the grin off of his face. He placed them in his pocket, not even realizing Jirou was still next to him before she poked his shoulder. Oh, Jirou. Sorry about that. I just, needed to. It's nothing too important. It's not a big deal. What convention are you going to though? And why does All Might know about it? She asked. It's, hero-related. Yeah, a hero convention, that's all, Midoriya said, as his face turned slightly red. Plenty of people knew about his obsession with heroes, but few knew just how deep it ran, especially with All Might in particular. But Jirou smirked, as she saw the boy's nervous reaction. She wondered why he would be so nervous about a hero convention, especially since All Might of all people knew. But maybe there was something more to it. Who's using your extra ticket, Green? She asked. And no one. Oh, do you want to go? Midoriya said. Realizing what he had said, he stuffed his hands into his pockets, and looked up towards the ceiling. Now Jirou would certainly know it was an All Might convention of all things if she agreed. It does sound pretty fun, and we've already been around each other a lot recently. Sure, I'll go, as long as Yue lets me leave campus, Jirou said. Oh yeah, that's great. I guess we should go work on this project since we'll be gone tomorrow, Midoriya said. Sure, I don't have much else to do right now, so that's fine. They walked together back to the dorm, as Midoriya tried his best to not make eye contact, as he was contradicted by his actions. There was no hiding All Might from Jirou now, but at least one for all being revealed was not on the line, and he grinned when he realized he would get to spend more time with her. Jirou looked over to Midoriya, as she twirled her jack. I wonder why Midoriya is always flustered about things. He's kinda cute when he acts like that though. Wait, what did I just say? Jirou thought, as they continued to walk together. Midoriya and Jirou were now back at the dorms. Most of the class were already in their rooms, as they embarked on another weekend, but Tokoemi and Ojiro sat together in the common area. They were watching a show on the TV about a certain young hero with wings. So Bonjour. They looked ahead to see Aoyama in the kitchen, placing several of his cheeses into the refrigerator. He placed the last of them in, as he walked over to the common area to join Tokoemi and Ojiro. Okay, so, as I was saying, the project, Jirou said. Yes, so, where should we do it? Midoriya asked. My room is a huge mess, so there's no way we can do it in there, she said, as she squirmed while thinking about all of the sheet music laying around in her room. I was thinking we could go outside and do it. Maybe under a tree or something for shade, he said. Sure, sounds good to me. I already have everything I need, so I'm ready to go, Jirou said. Damn it. Why do I act like this? I shouldn't have even brought up my room. Stupid music, Jirou thought. Yeah, let's go then. I think I know a great spot, Midoriya said. Meanwhile, Kaminari and Yaoyorozu were in the latter's room, as they began to work on their project. Yaoyorozu sat at her desk, clicking through several images of heroes to see which one would be the best to present. Kaminari meanwhile was on the other side of the room, rolling around in his chair, as he tapped his fingers on the armchair. Ugh, why did Aizawa have to assign a whole damn project over the weekend? Kaminari said. I do not think it is a big deal. Besides, it will help us learn about a hero, and how they... She was cut off mid-sentence, as electricity flashed from Kaminari's arm. Nothing was damaged from the bolt, but he was now in his idiot mode, and he grunted a ton of woos and wheeze. Why did I have to get stuck with him of all people for this project? I might as well choose Ryukyu since I already know a lot about her, Yaoyorozu said. Midoriya led Jirou to a place on the outskirts of the UA campus, just a short walk away from the dorms. There was a pathway with several benches, trees, and an open field. They chose to sit underneath one of the trees that blocked the sun the best. Midoriya opened his laptop, and Jirou's eyes went wide. Midoriya, why in the world do you have like 25 different tabs up? Jirou asked. Because we need to pick the perfect hero. There's so many great ones out there, and I originally made a list of over 50 that I wanted to do, but I had to narrow it down because the browser mutter Midoriya said. Jirou's hypersensitive hearing could not take the rambling any longer, as she stood up and pointed towards him. Dude, I appreciate the work you put in, but I don't think we need 25 different options. Pick 3, and we'll decide from there, Jirou said. I guess it was a little overboard, sorry about that. 3 heroes, how about we choose from, Fat Gum, Mount Lady, and Endeavor? Perfect. Let's do Fat Gum. The two spent the next hour adding information to their shared online document. They were so focused that they did not even realize so much time had passed, nor did they notice anyone that had walked by. While Yaoyorozu was far and away the smartest of the class, Midoriya and Jirou had high intellects in their own right, as well. Yawn, wow, that was a lot. Hanging in there, Green? Jirou asked. Yeah. I've learned so much about Fat Gum too. His tactics are so crazy, but they make total sense to me. Depleting your defense to maximize offense is really unique, Midoriya said. Jirou giggled at his remarks, and although she tried to be discreet, Midoriya still raised an eyebrow. What was so funny about Fat Gum? Hey Midoriya. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you love heroes, and why do you want to be one? Jirou asked. Midoriya closed his laptop and smiled as Jirou asked him the question. It was no secret that he was viewed as a hero fanatic, but not too many people asked the why part of the equation. It was a question that he was always happy to answer. When I was a kid, a phone call is here. A phone call is here. Oh, that's my phone. Just a spam caller, what else is new? Midoriya said, as he did not answer the call. Is that an All Might ringtone? Isn't his famous line I am here? Jirou asked. Yeah, it was his slogan he liked to say when he was a pro hero. Jirou again giggled, which caused Midoriya to scratch his head out of even more confusion. He had never heard a reaction, as such, from the few times people cared enough to talk to him about heroes. What's so funny, Jirou? He said. Nothing much. I just think it's great that you're so passionate about something, you know? Not many people are so open about it like you are. You're always taking notes, and observing others too, Jirou said. I was going to say earlier, I've just been obsessed with heroes since I was a kid. The cartoons, the documentaries, the live broadcasts of heroes saving the day. I want to be just like them, just like All Might, like any hero. Of course, that's what I meant, Midoriya said, as his face exploded in warm colors. So All Might really is your favorite, like everyone else said. You must have been stoked to actually meet him at UA, and to have him as a teacher in heroics must be surreal, as well, Jirou said. It really was a dream come true for me, he said, as he thought back to the day he met All Might, although he could never tell Jirou or anyone for that matter the true story. I'm glad we got the bulk of the project done, but I have to go back to my place now. I'll see you later, okay? And for the convention tomorrow too, Jirou said. Oh, are you sure you want to go? I'm not offended if you aren't interested. Of course I want to go. I love heroes too, dude. And I'll get to spend more time with you, as well. Later, Green, Jirou said, as she walked back to the dorms. Midoriya stopped packing his things, as he watched Jirou leave the area. Sure, he was happy that Jirou was interested in his passions, but his body still shook. She still doesn't even realize that this is an all-might convention for fanboys like me. It's not just some random hero event. What am I even doing? Midoriya thought. Later that evening, and after dinner was complete, Jirou was in her room at her laptop, looking to enjoy a low-key kind of night despite many of her classmates partying down on the first floor of the building. She watched some videos online of different bands, although she was starting to get bored. Sometimes the music just wasn't in tune to her desires for the listening session. Oh right, the convention tomorrow. I've never even been to a convention before. Let me look it up, and see what I need to know, she said while typing. 2 conventions popped up under events in the city for this weekend. The first, which lasted all weekend, was about an American cartoon. The second, which would take place tomorrow at the exact time and location Midoriya had said it would take place at, had the title of All Might Convention. Wait a minute, is that what he meant by a hero convention? That's pretty cool, Jirou said. Jirou wondered why he was so vague by calling it a hero convention instead of just saying All Might. She could tell he was always stuttering and jumpy about it, but why would he act like that? Everyone loved All Might, even if he was now retired. Maybe he's just nervous or something, I dunno. Deka. Ilda. What are you doing tomorrow? Uraraka said. She, Midoriya, and Ilda all sat at a table together in a room by themselves downstairs in the common area. They finally had a chance to catch up after a hectic week filled with schoolwork and training. Oh, I'm just going somewhere for the day, that's all, Midoriya said while avoiding eye contact with both of them. I'm going to go through intensive studying to master the concepts I have attained this week. After that, not much else, Ilda said. Darn, I don't have much to do. Where are you going, Deku? Uraraka said. And not anything too important, you know, just a convention or whatever, Midoriya said. Ooh, what kind? Uraraka said. I haven't been to a convention in ages. Where are you going, Midoriya? Ilda said, as he pulled out his phone. It's just a hero convention, I like to go to it every year, Midoriya said. Sounds interesting. Are you going with anyone or by yourself? Uraraka said. Are you talking about the All Might convention, Midoriya? I went, as a kid once. It was an inspiring and informative event. Hilda said. Yeah, it's an All Might convention. And I'm going with Jirou, because she asked if she could come along when she heard I had an extra ticket. Uraraka tensed up for a moment. Jirou and Midoriya seemed to have been around each other a lot recently, but what for? Maybe it was just a coincidence. Besides, she saw that Midoriya was not nervous talking about Jirou, so maybe she was just an All Might fan, as well. Even as a retired hero, he was still more popular than almost every active hero in the world. I hope you have a good time. Get me a keychain or something small if you can, Uraraka said with a smile. Sure. No problem. I'll look for the best one I can find for sure, Midoriya said. And make sure you study enough. Achieving high grades is critical in order to become a top hero. Hilda said. I certainly will, Hilda, Midoriya said. Now the next day, Jirou rolled out of bed and got ready for the events ahead. She was excited to go to the All Might convention, not to mention getting to hang out with Midoriya in a more casual setting. She got dressed and looked in the mirror to make sure she was all ready to go. Well, it may not be a hero convention, and there may not be any musical heroes though, but All Might is still great. Plus it'll be a fun daytime hanging out with each other. What the hell was that? Jirou said. She froze for a few moments after that, but she then disregarded it, as a simple tongue twister. Once she was ready, she went down to the common area to wait for Midoriya to join her. She tapped her foot, as she waited for him. Hey Jirou. Are you ready? Midoriya said. Jirou stopped tapping her foot, and looked up to him. He had now joined her in the common area that morning, as they were ready to depart for the All Might convention. She took a deep breath, as she stood up next to him. Yep, let's go, she said. Before they could leave, one of their classmates skidded past them in a flash of pink, and motioned them to stop. Hey you two, where are you going? Ashido said. We're just going out somewhere for the day, Midoriya said. Ashido's jaw dropped. Like, going out? Why didn't you tell me? No, not like that. We're just going somewhere. Midoriya said. Yeah, we're just going to the same place, that's all, Jirou said. Ah darn. I guess I'll let you off the hook. See you later. Ashido said. As the two left the building to head to the convention, Ashido signed, and went to the kitchen. She joined Yaoyorozu and Todoroki, who were preparing their Saturday breakfast. She grinned, as she launched the refrigerator door open, and pulled out the tub of ice cream to scoop from. Why are you so excited this morning, Ashido, and ice cream this early? Yaoyorozu said, while Todoroki raised a brow. Ashido smirked even harder, as she finished the bowl filled with toppings and whipped cream. Love is here, Ashido said. Oh my goodness, not this again, Todoroki said, as he quickly walked out of the kitchen, leaving Yaoyorozu nowhere to go. What do you mean? Yaoyorozu said. Do you ever see two people together and just see them fit? Ashido said. In a romantic sense? Sometimes, I guess, but I do not really think about it much, Yaoyorozu said. That's the thing, though. You just see it whether you want to think about it or not. Like, it just can't be any other way, and you can't get it out of your mind, Ashido said, as she dug into her bowl of ice cream. I guess I see where you are coming from. Who are you talking about? Midoriya and Jirou. They're going out somewhere today, and they stutter so much when I asked if that's what they meant by it. It was so cute, Ashido said, as she sighed. Yaoyorozu gasped when she heard Jirou's name. To her, Jirou never seemed to be the most romantic person, and she never mentioned Midoriya in that way before despite all the conversations they have shared. Mina, you should just change your hero name to Matchmaker already, Kurashima said, as he entered the kitchen. Who haven't you paired someone up with at this point? Well, you, for starters. Who should you be with? Ashido said, as she put a finger to her chin, in azure-like fashion. Damn it, why did I even get involved in this? Kurashima said, as he ran out of the room. Regardless, I wonder how Jirou and Midoriya are doing right now. Yaoyorozu said. Midoriya and Jirou were outside of a large, arena-like building in the middle of the city. Thousands of people surrounded them, as they wore streaks of red, white, and blue. Even at the early hour of 9 a.m., people could not wait for the event to unfold. I can't believe so many people are here. This is way more than most concerts, dude, Jirou said, as she gazed around. Honestly, there's usually more people than this. Maybe they just don't care anymore, Midoriya said. All Might is still extremely popular, he won't ever be forgotten, Jirou said, as she gave him a smile. Yeah, you're right, wait, this is, a hero convention, not just. I looked it up. I know it's only for All Might. Midoriya grit his teeth, as he looked away from her. How had he forgotten to tell Jirou himself? Was he really that uptight about it? Before he could give an answer or excuse, the doors of the building opened. The crowd proceeded to flood into the convention, as the annual event was underway. Hey Yaoyorozu. Do you know where Jirou is? She looked up to see Kaminari standing at the doorway of her room. She was finishing the last parts of their project, though Yaoyorozu did 99% of the work, so she was certainly surprised to see the ever-laid-back Kaminari ask her so sincerely. I think someone told me earlier that she went somewhere with Midoriya. I am not sure when she will return. Why do you ask? He shook his head in response. Just curious. They seem to be around each other a lot recently, Kaminari said. Really? I have not noticed, she said, mentally taking a note that he and Ishiro have now said the same thing that morning. Midoriya and Jirou were now in the arena, but remained at the entrance. While Jirou looked around, and was amazed at all of the people, merchandise, and booths that surrounded them, Midoriya was tense, and did not say a word. It was unlike anything Jirou had ever seen from him. Crap, I can't act like a fanboy in front of her, Midoriya muttered under his breath. Jirou was unsure of what to do. Was he just overwhelmed or something? So where do you want to go first? She then asked. Oh, wherever you want to go. I don't really care, Midoriya said. Before Midoriya could move any further, Jirou extended one of her jacks right in front of his face. Startled, he looked right into her eyes, and saw her with a glum expression. Dude. All Might is your favorite hero. Why are you so worked up about it? Why did you hide it all from me? I just didn't want you to think I was some fanboy, okay? I love heroes. I love All Might. But most people what? Jirou said, as she further extended her jack before it was inches from his eyes. Who cares what others think? You should always follow your passions. I think it's so cool that you care so much about All Might. And I'm glad you cared enough to let me come along, Jirou said, surprised at her sudden remarks. Yeah, you're alright? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, yell at you like that, Jirou said while stepping back. No, you're fine. I actually feel better now. Let's go to that keychain stand over there, Midoriya said with a smile. While they went over to the keychain stand he had pointed out, Jirou was still in awe of herself with what she had said to Midoriya. Now they could actually have fun together for the day rather than stepping on eggshells all day long. But then a thought crept into her mind. Music? That's my passion. Maybe I need to be more open about it too, she thought. Deka. I should have known you would be at this convention so early, you damn nerd. Jirou's trance was broken by the agitated voice. She could recognize the voice anywhere without seeing the person in question, although he was now in front of both of them. Keikaken? You're selling keychains here? Midoriya said. Yeah, profits are crazy high here. What do you expect? Lobes, you're here too? Bakugo said. Yeah. I'm here with Midoriya, she said. Bakugo raised a brow. Interesting. What keychains do you all want then? I'll pass, Jirou said. Midoriya looked through the keychain selections for a few moments, leading Bakugo to grunt. He finally picked out 2 keychains, both with All Might in his victory pose, and decided to buy them. 15. I'm surprised you don't have them already, Bakugo said. After the purchase was complete, they went around to several booths and stands to see what else was around. Noon was quickly approaching, which meant it would be time for lunch soon. As they were ready to take a break, the sound of a microphone turned on, which Jirou easily picked up with her hearing. Attendants, we have a special guest with us here today for the first time ever. The person over the PA system announced. I am here. All Might? Everyone yelled in unison, as they saw a huge figure enter the stage on the other side of the building. He's here? Midoriya said. What's so surprising about that? Jirou asked. Hey, it's All Might. The crowd roared with applause, as the former number 1 hero waved towards everyone from the stage. He was in his hero form for a few seconds, even wearing his Silver Age costume, but he then burst back into his slim, true form. Ahem, sorry about that. Couldn't help but get fired up there. I thought I owed it to everyone to show up, so the first 1,000 people to go to the stage will get autographs from me. All Might said. The crowd sprinted towards the stage, pushing and shoving each other to the ground, as they fumbled for paper. Midoriya and Jirou did not move though, as they watched everything unfold. Pretty ironic to see fans treat each other like this considering what All Might stands for. Midoriya, don't you want an autograph too? I already have one, plus I could get one anytime. There's no need to get into that mess, Midoriya said, as they chuckled together. Back at his keychain stand, Bakugo rolled his eyes, as he saw everyone rush towards All Might. He began to imagine himself, as the #1 hero received the same attention when he felt a buzz in his pocket. What the hell do they want? Bakugo said. Ashido, why are you calling Bakugo? Yaoyorozu said. Because he's at that All Might convention in the city today selling stuff. And you know who else loves All Might? Ashido said, as she raised her phone to her ear. Midoriya, if I am not mistaken. Exactly. So where do you think Midoriya and Jirou are at? Ashido said. Oh, you really are that desperate, I see, Yaoyorozu said, as she nodded. Hey! I'm not hey Bakugo! Ashido said, as he answered the phone, quickly changing her tone. Raccoon eyes! What the hell are you calling for? I have money to make. Bakugo said. I know, but have you happened to see your good buddy Midoriya at that convention today? Yeah, why do you give a shit anyways? Have you even talked to him? Bakugo asked, his voice getting angrier by the word. Is Jirou with him? Ashido said. Yeah, okay, tell me if anything interesting happens between them. I'll get you your favorite spicy food if you do, bye. Ashido said, as she hung up. You really are invested in this, Yaoyorozu said. Of course. Mina Ashido will never back down when it comes to getting people together, she said, as she pumped her fist. What the hell is up with her meh? Who cares, Bakugo said. Right, as he said this, he looked up the aisle to see Midoriya and Jirou laughing together. They were the only ones in the vicinity, as everyone else crammed towards the stage. Are Deku and Lobes together or something? Is that what Raccoon Eyes meant? He actually cares about something besides herpes? Bakugo said. Bakugo refused to believe it. He could care less about Midoriya's relationship status, but he was surprised at the prospect of Jirou being the one he was potentially with. After all, he had seen him with Uraraka most of the time before the past week. So she's a genius, and caught on somehow, or she's a dumbass, and overthought it. Either way, she said she'll give me spicy food, Bakugo said. With there being no lines, Midoriya and Jirou went to one of the stands to get soup for lunch. Many of the food and drink options were unsurprisingly All Might themed, but they opted to keep it simple minus Midoriya's souvenir cup. They found a table near the side of the arena moments later, and sat there for lunch. As they ate, Midoriya sent a quick text to his mom, while Jirou listened to Deep Dope with one ear. Hey Midoriya. Thanks for letting me come along with you. It's been fun so far, Jirou said. Sure thing. Since you were so willing to share your passion with me, maybe I'll do the same sometimes. Passion? Like music? Midoriya said, as he continued to eat. I got to use the bathroom. Be right back, Jirou said, as she stormed off from the table. Midoriya remained, giving a surprised look, as he saw Jirou's jacks flop in the air, as she went into a full-on sprint. That's very unlike Jirou to act like that. Wonder why? Midoriya said. He took more spoonfuls of the soup. He enjoyed the taste of it, not too salty, but not too sweet. It was not spicy at all either, but that changed once he saw a flash of orange in front of his face. Deku! You got a girlfriend now or something? What in the world are you talking about, Kakin? Midoriya said, as his face turned red. That Jirou girl with the earlobes. Are you dating her or not? Bakugo said. And no way, of course not. Why, did you think so? Midoriya said. Well, you're pretty damn embarrassed right now. Honestly, I could care less, but why are you always with her? Bakugo said. Well, it's just a bunch of coincidences, and now we're friends too, it's not that deep. Midoriya said. HHMPH, whatever. I get free spicy food for dinner now. Later, a nerd, Bakugo said. As he left, Midoriya stared at the reflection of himself from the soup in his bowl. Him and Jirou? Together, as in a relationship? Jirou, meanwhile, found a bathroom, and stood there heaving breaths of air in and out of her nose. Why can't I just tell him about my instruments already? He already knows about my favorite bands, for crying out loud. She then thought about how Midoriya had been about the convention. He always stuttered, he was embarrassed to even bring it up, and he even lied about his All Might fandom. Maybe I need to listen to my own advice I gave him earlier. As the afternoon passed, Midoriya and Jirou enjoyed the rest of the convention before leaving. They each picked up a few more items, including a singing All Might figure that Jirou bought. We should do this again sometime, Jirou said, as they were now on campus. The All Might convention is only once a year, unfortunately, Midoriya said. No, I mean just hanging out like this, you and me, she said. Oh. Of course we can. Midoriya said. The thoughts of what Bakugo said earlier crept into his mind, as he looked towards Jirou. She's very nice. I wish we had talked sooner, he thought. They entered their dorm building to see Azuri, Uraraka, Ilda, and Tokoyami talking to each other near the entrance. They stopped their conversation once they saw that their classmates had returned. Hello Jirou, Midoriya, Azuri said. Deka. Did you have a good time? Uraraka said, as she was now mere inches from Midoriya. It was fun, and even All Might was there. Midoriya said. Oh yeah, I got you this. He handed over one of the keychains he bought from Bakugo's stand to Uraraka. She grinned, as she looked at it while she wrapped her arms around him. Thank you, Deku. I'll always cherish it. As the two shared the moment, Jirou watched from the side. She felt flushed, even feeling the warmth rush to her face, as she saw it all unfold. Without him noticing, she left the area, and went to her own room. Slamming the door shut, she sat down onto her bed back first, and stared up towards her ceiling. Oh my, what was that? She could not help but notice how he had not gotten her anything, even a keychain like Uraraka. And when had he ever hugged anyone like that before? She knew Uraraka was one of his best friends, but she never considered it potentially being more than that. Why am I even thinking about this? It's not like I shit. A heavy knock then boomed from the door. She then heard a voice from the hall. Jirou, it's Tsu. Are you okay? There was no denying what had just happened. With her hearing enhancement quirk, there was no way out of this one. She knew she was caught. Jirou, it's Tsu. Are you okay? Ugh. What should I do? Jirou whispered. I am not going anywhere until you open this door, Jirou. I know something happened. Please, I just want to make sure that you are okay, Azuri said. Jirou sighed. After a few more moments of staring up at her ceiling, she trudged over to join Tsuyu in the hallway. They looked at each other, reading one another's expressions before beginning their conversation. I'm fine, Azuri. See, here I am. Same old Kyouka Jirou. As always, Jirou said with a blank look. Your reaction earlier suggested otherwise, Ribbit. What reaction? Jirou said. She twirled one of her jacks rather fast now. Was Tsu really going to press her on this, she wondered? When Midoriya and Uraraka hugged, I saw how you got red and spirited away. Midoriya told us about how you had a great time at that convention today, so he was confused as to why you just took off like that. I do not think anyone else there noticed your reaction in particular though, Ribbit. I have no idea what you're talking about, Jirou responded, not even sure herself now what the emotions were that she was feeling. They were unwelcome, regardless. You know me, Jirou. I say it how it is. I saw you get embarrassed directly from them hugging. It does not take someone with an intelligence quirk to know what that stems from. I just want to make sure that nothing bad happened otherwise. Azuri had not changed her stance since they began talking. Jirou did not even think Azuri had blinked yet either. But it did not matter what either of them said at this point. Azuri caught Jirou's embarrassment, and no matter what convoluted lie or excuse she came up with, Azuri would never believe her. I don't know, Midoriya, and I have just been around each other a lot recently. Well, just think he's special, you know, Jirou said, looking away from Azuri while she tapped her jacks together with a light blush. Special, Ribbit? Are you more than friends or something? Azuri said, placing her pointer finger beneath her chin. Together? No, we're not. Jirou said. You're really blushing though, Azuri said. Jirou quickly placed her hands over her cheeks, as she realized her face was getting hotter and hotter. Azuri placed her hand on Jirou's shoulder, as she tried to calm her down. Jirou, listen. I am not here to spread gossip or embarrass you. And I deeply apologize if I did, Ribbit. I just wanted to see if everything was alright. But it is clear that you have strong feelings one way or another. I only pursued the answer because, well, if Ishido, Hagakure, or Kaminari found out instead, everyone would know by tomorrow. You can trust me, I will not tell anyone about this. Not even Midoriya, Ribbit, Azuri said. Thanks Tsu, Jirou croaked. Good night, Jirou. Please do not be upset or embarrassed. Your feelings are totally valid, Azuri said. As Azuri walked away, Jirou tried her best to recollect herself. When she realized her friend was about to enter the elevator, she called out for one more question. Tsu, wait. First, I don't know if this is really what you think it is. I was, probably just jealous that Midoriya didn't give me a gift too, that's all. But are Uraraka and Midoriya, you know, together? Jirou said. Azuri turned around and shook her head. I will not be the one to tell you what your feelings are, but actions speak louder than words. Please do not beat yourself up over it, regardless. And no, Midoriya and Uraraka are just good friends, Ribbit. As Azuri left, Jirou scrambled back into her room. She closed the curtains, and turned all of the lights out to make the room as dark as it could possibly be. Her favorite headphones were on the desk right next to her bed, so she put them on, and listened to a deep dope playlist to block out the thoughts she had been feeling. But after several songs, she realized nothing could be changed. All she had thought about was Midoriya, and the convention earlier, and how she analyzed their interactions. And then she visualized the scene of him hugging Uraraka. Before she knew it, she passed out. Jirou slowly opened her eyes. The morning sunlight shined through her curtains, illuminating her clock which read 7:19 a.m. She had forgotten to set her alarm, but she figured she must have fallen asleep early, as it was way before the normal time she would get up on a Sunday morning. She ripped the headphones off of her head, although they were not playing any music. Noticing her phone laying next to her, she picked it up to notice one new text message. Izuku Midoriya, hey Jirou. I really enjoyed the All Might convention yesterday. Are you okay? Once we got back, I didn't see you the rest of the night. I completely ditched him, didn't I? Damn it. I'm such an idiot, Jirou mumbled. Although she felt bad, she knew that she needed the alone time. She remembered how Aizawa basically made her admit how she felt, although she still refused to officially say it was a crush or anything along those lines. It was a rather draining experience, but she knew Aizawa was trying to be a good friend. Besides, it was not like it was Ashido who had figured it out. Her secret was safe for now. Jirou decided to answer the text from Midoriya after a few more moments of waiting. Kyouka Jirou, sorry, I wasn't feeling so good out of the blue. I wasn't trying to be rude. It was a lot of fun yesterday. Midoriya ran down the street, going on his daily morning jog to help keep his cardio in check. It was also a great way to keep discipline, as he went out to run the same time every day barring any weather mishaps. As he ran, he felt a buzz from his pocket that came from his phone. All Might, you need some advice? Sure thing, kiddo. I'll be in my office at 9 a.m. He had also finally gotten a response from Jirou earlier, though he had not opened it yet. His heart thumped a little faster when thinking about seeing the message. I must have made her really angry or something. We had a great time at the convention, she even bought something there, we were together the whole time. She never seemed to be bored surprisingly. Although she did run off on her own during lunch, so maybe it was related to that. There can't be any other reason she possibly ran off, he muttered to himself. He continued his run, taking in the crisp morning, as birds flew above. He chuckled to himself, as he thought of Tokoemi, a bird like human, and whether he would fly with other birds, as well. But then he remembered he did not have wings, so it was a moot point at best. After about another half hour or so, Midoriya arrived at the main school building. He checked his phone to make sure it was after 9 a.m., and then he entered the building while mentally preparing himself. It was time for another conference with his mentor. Heroes, oh forget it. Can I go 1 minute without thinking about that dude? Jirou shook her head while strumming her bass. She had tried playing a few songs, but Midoriya yet again intruded her thoughts when she tried to shake them off. The same visuals would play like a movie over and over again no matter what songs she played. The training session last week. The convention. His embrace with Uraraka. And if she tried to play a song with even the slightest hint of romantic undertones, gasoline was added to her brain's burning images. You know what, no matter what this is, I can't let Midoriya flood my thoughts. He's a great friend, not some villain hunting me down, not to mention that we have to present that damn project tomorrow. She decided to leave her room for the first time that morning. After cleaning everything up, and packing her base away, she went over to the bathroom to get ready for the day ahead. And I know exactly who can help me. Young Midoriya, welcome. Midoriya entered All Might's office, and joined him over at the couches they typically sat at for their meetings. Given it was a Sunday, not many were around in the UA school building today, so there was no worry about anyone being suspicious of what was going on. Quiet today, are you okay? Did you enjoy the convention yesterday? All Might asked. He drank a hot cup of tea, his second of the morning. Ah yes, your convention. It was great, as always. And it was amazing to see you there too, Midoriya said, scuffing his foot on the ground, as he gripped his fingers on the cushion. All Might stared at his successor for a few moments, as he put his teacup on the table. He could have sworn he saw Midoriya flinch, and gulp, further raising his concerns. I can tell you are at unease. Did you discover something new about One for All? Are you caught up with a villain? All Might asked. No, All Might, I think I made a friend of mine angry. And I don't know why. All Might nodded, as he looked towards the window. Who? Kyouka Jirou. So we went together to your convention yesterday. We had a lot of fun, but, as soon as we got back to campus, she just ran off. I didn't see her the rest of the night, Not even at dinner, Midoriya spilled out. I see. But why do you think it was because she was angry? Maybe she was just tired, or had something to do. It's not like she left you while you were there. I don't think you have much to be concerned about, kiddo. Midoriya lightened his grip on the cushion, and took a deep breath. Perhaps All Might was right. Maybe he was just overreacting for no reason. That's a great point, thank you. Sorry that this is a different topic than usual, but it was really bothering me. Trust me, I asked my mentor plenty of general life questions, as well, All Might said with a smile. But behind his smile, All Might wondered why Midoriya was so urgent and nervous about this. It seemed like one small suggestion completely changed his cadence, too. He and Jirou did seem to be with each other more recently. After all, he figured it was none of his business, and remained quiet about it, as the conversation moved on to something school-related. During All Might and Midoriya's meeting, Jirou had also entered the UA school building. After some searching around the massive structure, Jirou found the person she was looking for in an office space. Sensei? Jirou asked, as she cracked the door open. Oh, Kyouka. Something on your mind? The man wearing all black said, meaning it was none other than Shota Aizawa. Yeah, it's about my mind actually. I don't know how to put this. How do I, think more rationally? Jirou asked, now sitting in front of his desk. You want to think more rationally? Elaborate, please, Aizawa said. Although he refused to change his expression, he grinned internally. Hearing a member from the next generation even thinking about wanting to be rational pleased him. Sometimes I try to focus on something, but I can only think about other things at that moment. Not being able to think about one thing at once really hurts my ability to use my quirk. Since it's, based on my hearing and heartbeat. So since you're always talking about heroes needing to be rational, I wondered if you could give some insight, Jirou asked. While focus was important for her quirk, it was at best a convoluted way to conceal her true reason for asking Aizawa for advice. Ever since she had gotten back from the convention, her mind had been racing with flashbacks and thoughts about Midoriya. If she asked a classmate like Yaoyorozu or Kaminari, she figured she would be more likely to accidentally give away her thoughts. Aizawa's strictness, along with being her teacher, seemed to be the more well-rounded choice. Aizawa, meanwhile, cracked his knuckles. Sure. There's 3 components to consider. First, you need to be honest with yourself. Hypotheticals and what-ifs will only slow you down. Focus on the facts. Second, practice thinking about specific things in certain situations. When you're in a training session, it's an opportunity to sharpen your mind in a safer scenario compared to the real world. So only focus on things that will only help you in the moment. Finally, for a lack of a better term, go with your gut. Trust your instincts first and foremost. I see, that makes sense, Jirou nodded. Honesty, focus, instinct. Those are the 3 components that I used to think rationally. It will help outside of hero work, as well, Aizawa said. Thank you, Sensei. That helps a lot. Good. See you tomorrow in class. Make sure you are ready to present your project, Aizawa said, as he went back to typing on his computer. Jirou left his office, and twirled her left jack, as his words ringed in her head. Honesty. Focus. Instinct. I knew Sensei would have a good approach, Jirou said to herself. Oh, Jirou! She turned around to see Midoriya speed walking towards her from the other direction. Her twirling's pace increased sharply, as she made eye contact with Midoriya's black eyes. Honesty. Focus. Instinct. I'll be fine, Jirou thought. Where were you last night? I didn't see you anywhere, Midoriya asked, oblivious to the text he had not yet seen. Oh, I was feeling like shit so I went straight to sleep. Sorry if I worried you, Jirou said without delay. Well, I did feel like shit, so technically I'm being honest, Jirou thought. Oh, I see. It's just, I was worried I angered you or something, Midoriya said, looking towards the ground. Angered me? Not at all, Green. You could never anger me, Jirou said with a smirk. Hey, are you sure, Jirou? Midoriya said, now making eye contact. Just as he finished his sentence, Jirou placed her hands on his shoulders. After staring into each other's eyes, she slid her hands down his back, and they embraced. Midoriya tried his best not to interrupt the moment despite the suddenness of the hug. Little did he know that Jirou was grinning a smile, as wide as All Might's behind his back. Kyouka. Call me that instead, Jirou said. Really? We are, just getting to know each other, and what? You can call me Kyouka. They pulled away from each other, as Midoriya's face now had a pink tint to it. And you can call me Izuku or Deku, Midoriya said. Alright, Izuku, Jirou said in a higher pitch. See you tomorrow for that project presentation. Right. Kyouka. Midoriya said. The two went their respective ways down the opposite ends of the hallway. Midoriya was very surprised at Jirou's sudden move, along with her being cool with calling each other by their first names. Jirou, meanwhile, felt her face flush to a shade of red that she had never felt before. It was pure ecstasy for her. She began talking to herself, as soon as she knew the coast was clear. I did it. Sensei's advice really worked. I just went with my instincts, and he was fine with it too. I guess I do like him if that's how I act without overthinking. I mean, I have no idea why I like him, but that's for later. Now I can play bass with a clear mind too. Do you like someone? Jirou? Who? Her dazed-off state was shattered upon hearing the voice. Looking down the hallway, it was unmistakable, as to who had overheard her. Damn it, do you like someone? Jirou? Who? The words rang in Jirou's head a few times now, but her fate was now set at this point. Her eavesdropper grinned, as they stared at Jirou from down the hall. There was no turning back now. It's not really, like that, Uraraka, Jirou said, but I just heard you say you like a guy even though you have no idea why. Come on, there isn't much drama like this around here. Who is it? I won't tell anyone, don't worry, Uraraka said. Jirou shivered, as her eyes were peeled wide open. Her body was in a trance, and no matter what she wanted to do, she felt frozen. Jirou mumbled. Who? Kirishima? Todoroki? Uraraka said, inching closer towards Jirou. No, Bakugo? Wait, that can't be right. How about Zero? Maybe Ojiro? See, come on, it couldn't be Deku, right? Wait, it's gotta be Kaminari. You two always hang out after class. Uraraka practically screamed. No! 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 Jirou yelled, running around Uraraka. Wait, Jirou, I was just teasing. Please, I don't care if you don't want to tell me, but it was too late at this point. Jirou was long gone, probably already out of the school building at that point, as she seemed to be sprinting faster than Ilda at top speed. What Uraraka had said was a valid point, though. No one in Class 1A was in a relationship despite being several months into the school year, and besides her own secret crush on Midoriya, no one else had been ousted for having feelings yet. Maybe I was too eager. I just thought it was exciting for both of us, Uraraka said in disappointment. I'll have to apologize later. Jirou was back in her room about 10 minutes after her latest run-in. First it was Azui yesterday, now it was Uraraka today. She looked into a mirror across from her bed while reflecting on everything that had happened. Saying Midoriya's first name out loud made her pulse race faster. Through her sprint back to the dorms, she had not been able to think about Midoriya from the adrenaline of her other encounter. Remembering their embrace, and the way she was able to get them on a first-name basis made her grin. I can't wait for tomorrow, Izuku. The remainder of Sunday was uneventful for Jirou and Midoriya. They did not see each other at all, busy with studying, and their own obligations to prepare for the week ahead. In fact, the dorm, as a whole, was quite likely from the students putting their finishing touches on their projects. Aizawa had the class present their projects at the start of the school day. Present Mike had the period off, so he joined the classroom to observe the students go. One by one, the duos went, with Yaoyorozu and Kaminari going second to last. Ryukyu has a size-changing costume, which allows her to maximize her dragon quirk's capabilities in battle. It is a very wise choice given her situation, Yaoyorozu said. Kaminari kept his lips sealed, as his partner rattled off every bit of information for their project. The class wrote down a few notes per group, as required by Aizawa, while Midoriya scribbled, as much as he could, into his notebook. Jirou held one end of her jack in her mouth, as she wrote, focusing on her friend's presentation in particular. Yaoyorozu then nodded towards Kaminari. And that's all you ever need to know about the great Ryukyu? Kaminari yelled, as some members of the class groaned. Thank you, Momo. And you were very informative, as well, Denki, Aizawa said. Gee, thanks, Sensei. Kaminari said with a smirk. That's sarcasm. You're lucky I'm not grading based off of individual effort, Aizawa said while using his quirk on Kaminari. Got it, sir, Kaminari said. Jirou snickered under her breath, while Bakugo rolled his eyes rather obviously. Aizawa then motioned for the final group to come to the front of the room. Kyouka. Izuku. Go. The two partners took their laptop to the front desk, ready to inform their class of their hero of choice, Fat Gum. Compared to some other groups, the two of them felt very confident in their material. Don't get too carried away now, Monsieur Midoriya, Oyama said from his desk while posing. Yeah, you damn nerd. I don't have all day. Bakugo scowled. Do it, Deku, and you too, Jirou, Uraraka said, remembering yesterday, as she saw Jirou, Enough with the commentary, Aizawa grumbled. They each cleared their throats. There was no going back now. They took a quick glance at each other, and Jirou's heart skipped a beat. As she opened her mouth to talk, a voice next to her beat her to the punch. Fat Gum is a pro hero in the country of Japan. He is 29 years old, he is 250 centimeters, which is unbelievably tall, but it's thanks to his unique quirk, fat absorption, which means he must eat lots of food loaded full of different fats so he can. Stop fucking muttering DKU, Bakugo said, as he released some explosions upwards. Izuku, kid! Slow down, and go over the important points only, yeah. It's like you're sleeping talking up there, and let your partner there have some time to speak too, President Mike said. You people are irrational, Aizawa said, as he fell back asleep. Jirou and Midoriya broke a sweat. They realized that they did not even go over who should say what. They looked over to each other again, nodded, and went back to speaking. The hero we chose is Fat Gum. His name is Taishiro Tomitsu, and he is also known as the BMI hero, Jirou said. Fat Gum's quirk is fat absorption. He can take several impacts before releasing the energy he stores into one punch, and people can sink into his body too. Midoriya said. Fat Gum must eat a ton of food prior to using the quirk, especially foods that are filled with fat. It may not be the healthiest way of fighting, but there's no denying his power, Jirou added. His super move is Fataxi. It allows him to transport people with his fat absorption, which can be really useful in rescues. Midoriya said. His costume consists of a yellow hoodie, with a white F and G to represent the first letters of his hero name, Jirou said, glancing over again at Midoriya for the third time during the presentation. And that's Fat Gum. He's only 29, so perhaps he'll reach the top 10 one day. Midoriya said. The class clapped, prompting Aizawa to wake up just in time to evaluate the final group. President Mike gave them a thumbs up from the back of the room. You were spectacular. Bravo, bravo. President Mike yelled. You both pass, Aizawa said. Class dismissed. See you this afternoon? As the students filed out to head to their next class, Midoriya and Jirou cleaned up their stuff from the front of the room. They congratulated each other on the job they did, knowing Aizawa's remarks meant they had earned a high grade. Yaoyorozu joined them moments later. Do you want to walk together to the next class, Kyouka? Yaoyorozu said. Yeah. Great job, by the way, Jirou said. Can I join too? Midoriya asked, now ready to leave. Of course, Izuku, Jirou said. Yaoyorozu raised a brow hearing Jirou call Midoriya by his first name, but the three of them left the classroom together without further delay. Uraraka, you, and Ajri had an incredibly informative project. It will certainly. Hey, are you okay? Ilda asked, as they were the only two left in the classroom. Uraraka stared down towards her desk. After hearing Ilda a second time, she quickly stood up, and waved her hands in Ilda-like fashion. Yep, all good. Let's go, she said. After the school day, the class went back to the dorms after a long Monday full of lectures and work. About an hour later, Yaoyorozu and Jirou went on a walk around campus, at Yaoyorozu's request. What do you have to do this week, Kyouka? Yaoyorozu asked. Not much. I go home Wednesday night because my family needs extra help that day, like always. You? Jirou asked. Nothing as of now. This week does not seem so busy. I hope I do not seem intrusive, but do you still think Midoriya is a dweeb? Jirou coughed, and twirled her left jack once she heard the question. And no way, I don't think Izuku's a dweeb. Jirou now saw Yaoyorozu's inquisitive look on her face. She wondered why her friend, who was always so serious and studious, had asked such a random question. But then Jirou also remembered the day she did call Midoriya a dweeb in front of Yaoyorozu, and she grit her teeth, and regretted ever saying it. Well, I overheard you calling him by his first name this morning, and you did again just now. When did that happen? Yaoyorozu asked. It doesn't mean anything. I call you Yamamo, you call me Kyouka. Why are you on edge? I am just asking if you are friends now. Oh? Yeah, we are, Jirou said. I see, Yaoyorozu said, remembering what Ishido had suggested on Saturday while Jirou and Midoriya were at the convention. Listen, I apologize for being so sudden, but I am inviting the girls of our class to a sleepover at my house on Friday. Do you want to join us? Yue already said it was okay. Sure, that'll be fun, Jirou said. They continued on their walk, talking about various things stemming from schoolwork, and which heroes they were invested in recently. Midoriya sat at his desk with the lamp on that evening, paging through his notebooks, as he did a quick study session. He scribbled a few more notes down that he thought of in the spur of the moment. Just as he was about to close his books, he heard a knock on the door. On the other side when he opened it was Kyouka Jirou. Hey Izuku, remember how you let me go to the convention? And how did I get to see what your passion was? Jirou said without hesitation. Of course I do. Why? He said. Well, I want to share my passion with you, as well. As a thank you? Follow me, Jirou said. Oh, sure. What passion are you talking about, though? Midoriya asked. Jirou sighed. Music. While Jirou talked to Midoriya at his doorway, they were lucky that no one had been on their floor, and had caught them talking to one another. Many members of Class 1A were downstairs in the common area room, enjoying some hot tea prepared by Yaoyorozu. Among those sitting in the room with Yaoyorozu were Tenya Ilda, Shoto Todoroki, Aijiro Kirashima, Mina Ashido, Fumikage Tokoemi, and Rikido Sato. Thanks for the tea, Yamamo. Ashido said, as she gulped it down. I must say, this tea is excellent, Vice President Yaoyorozu. Ilda said. The perfect taste. I could use these in fights. Sato said. While the class gawked over their tea, Achiko Uraraka stepped off the elevator, and trudged in the room to join them. She sighed, as she sat down, slouching her shoulders, as Ashido raised a brow. What's wrong, Ochako? She asked. Nothing, Uraraka said. Uraraka, as your class president, I said I'm fine. Uraraka said, cutting off Ilda, which prompted him to drop his jaw. The 8 classmates sat in silence for a few moments. Uraraka was always known for her positive, bubbly personality, so to see her clearly feeling down left them completely off guard. Finally, the silence was broken. Has everyone kept up with studying? Does anyone need any assistance? Ilda said. Nope, I could actually use your assistance for something. Ashido exclaimed. Did you say no to studying? Anyways, how can I help? Do you like anyone, Ilda? Ashido said, grinning, as she asked. I happen to like everyone here, for starters. I like anyone with a passion for learning, and with heroic instincts. Ilda stood up, as he proclaimed his feelings. Ashido and Kirashima burst out laughing, with Ashido even falling off of the couch following his remarks. Todoroki and Tokuyami looked at them in confusion, shrugging at Ilda over what had transpired. Are you okay, Mina? Yaoyorozu asked. Should have known you would have taken that literally. I meant, do you like anyone in the romantic sense? Ashido asked Ilda. What? No way. We are far too young to be thinking about such grown-up, mature subjects. Ilda practically yelled, as his face turned red. Hey now, I don't think we're too young to have a relationship, for crying out loud. We're high schoolers. Sato said. Agreed, Sato. Come on, there's nothing like a good romance. I want some drama. Who do you all like? Ashido said. We should focus on studying rather than marriage. Ilda said, as his glasses fell onto the ground. Relax, bro. I'd rather study up on who to date too. Who do you like, Ashido? Kirashima said with a laugh. Yep, I'm out of here, Todoroki said, leaving the room without delay. No one even noticed him slipping out. None of your business, Red Riot. I am Mina Ashido, Pinky, the matchmaking hero. You all have nothing better to talk about, so fess up now. Ashido said. Perhaps we can have an impromptu study session instead. I do not think we should be talking about such subjects with peer pressure like this, Yaoyorozu said. While everyone continued to talk and argue, Uraraka sat without moving a muscle. The topic of romance made her extra uncomfortable considering the incident with Jirou the prior day. Still, she wondered who Jirou liked considering how upbeat she was compared to every other encounter they had shared thus far. I think studying sounds great, Yamamo. Who else wants to join? Uraraka said. Bullshit. You of all people should be talking about this, Achiko. Ashido said, pointing a finger towards Uraraka. Why me? Uraraka said, as she touched her face on accident, and activated her zero-gravity quirk. She was now above the other class members, as she began to sweat. You people are hopeless, Tokoemi said with a shrug. We all know you're in love with. Would you extras shut the fuck up already? The 7 class members turned to see Katsuki Bakugo standing at the entrance of the room with his hands on his hips. He had a snarl on his face far meaner than any the class had seen before. Bakugo, as your class president, you shut up, 4 eyes. You people keep yelling and screaming over who knows what. I can hear you from all the way upstairs now. I'm getting my damn ice cream cone, Bakugo said, as he left the room and went to the kitchen. With that, Yaoyorozu, Ilda, Tokoemi, and Sato agreed to study upstairs to end the fiery conversation. Kirashima, meanwhile, went to the kitchen to attempt to calm down Bakugo. Uraraka thought about joining them to study, but she decided she had enough close calls for one day. Just as she was about to leave, Ashido put a hand on her shoulder. You're not off the hook. We need to chat. As the conversation de-escalated downstairs into an all-out shouting frenzy, Izuku Midoriya and Kyouka Jirou went to the latter's room. Jirou took in a deep breath as she put her hand on the doorknob. Are you nervous about something? Midoriya asked, noticing her panting. Just don't judge me, please, Jirou said. As they entered the room, Jirou looked straight ahead. She tapped the ends of her jacks together, finding it as an oddly comforting remedy despite the circumstances. She did not look back at Midoriya, but she did hear him gasp moments later. I know it's weird, not girly, whatever, okay, but this is such an amazing room. The deep dope poster. The guitars, keyboard, and entire drum set? So you play all this music? Midoriya was in awe. Well, I can play a little of some of this stuff, Jirou said, still turned the other way. And you have the singing All Might figure on your shelf. So awesome. Midoriya said. Thanks, Izuku, she said, as she finally began to look towards him. To her surprise, Midoriya's face went blank as they made eye contact. They stared at each other for a few moments without talking. No song could capture the level of awkwardness the two felt in that moment. Jirou. Remember what you told me at the convention? How did you think my passion for All Might was great, and all? Midoriya said at last. I kinda do, hey, that's Kyoka, by the way, Jirou said, blushing, as she remembered the past conversation word by word. Right, sorry. Music is your passion, right? Well, I think it's cool too. Show me your passion, with confidence. Kyoka, Midoriya said with a smile. As sure, Izuku, she said, as she felt her heart race. Her eyes wandered around the room, trying to not burst out of their sockets, as she looked for ideas. Should she sing? Play bass? The drums? Maybe just a room tour? Finally, she decided to grab one of her basses. She had 4 in the dorm, each with different, specific purposes, and strummed a few notes. I know I'm not all that good, but here's one you might know, Jirou said. Forgetting Midoriya was right in front of her, she played her bass aggressively, and full of vigor, as she sang Heroes Are Dope, the trademark song by Deep Dope. After a little over 3 minutes, she stopped, and opened her eyes. I forgot you were even there. Sorry, I guess I like to close my eyes while I play, Jirou said. Kyouka, Izuku, I know, that was the best song I've ever heard. Even better than Deep Dope themselves. Why didn't you tell everyone about this sooner? You're the best singer I've ever heard, Midoriya said. And no, I'm not really, it's just some dumb hobby of mine. But thanks, Jirou said, as she put her bass away. Do you think you can show me how to play bass? At least the basics, Midoriya said. Wait, for real? Do you really care that much? Jirou asked, twirling her left jack. Deep Dope is amazing, but you're even more amazing, Kyouka. I'd love for you to teach me your passion, Midoriya said. Jirou's face flushed to an ever darker shade of red. She had never played or sang for anyone before besides her parents, yet Midoriya was inspired to learn how to play her favorite instrument after just one song. Her hands twitched as she put the bass strap back around herself. Here, grab the green one over there. I'll show you a few notes, Jirou said. While they played together, Midoriya began to get the hang of how to hold the instrument. He was even able to play a few notes in succession without it sounding horrendous. Jirou made sure to not get too advanced, just like how her parents had originally taught her. She smiled with a hint of a blush on her face, as the playing went on, and so did Midoriya. As Midoriya and Jirou continued to play music together, Uraraka sat with Ashido on the latter's bed in her dorm room. Uraraka tried her best to keep a straight face, as Ashido, giggling the whole time, put her thumb and index finger on her chin in a thinking-like fashion. So is it Hilda or Midoriya? I know you like one of them, Ashido said. No, Mina. Really, I don't like them, Uraraka said. Ha ha. Nice try, girl, but I'm undefeated. So if Hilda asked you out, would you reject him? Ashido said, now holding a piece of paper in her hands along with a pen. I guess I would, now that you say that, Uraraka said. And Midoriya? Uraraka was unable to answer the question. Should she say out loud that she would reject him? She would be a liar in that case. Should she tell the truth? Ashido would then know her deepest secret. That hesitation. I knew it. You love Midoriya, Ashido said. Why? Okay, fine. I do like him. But please don't tell anyone, Uraraka said, blushing at admitting it aloud for the first time. I knew it. Ochako and Midoriya, woo. Since you're a good friend, I won't tell anyone, but only if you make a deal with me, Ashido said, throwing a pillow across the room to release her energy. A deal? What kind of deal? Uraraka said, half nervous, yet half curious. So, all the girls are going to Yamamo's on Friday for a sleepover. You, me, Tsuyu, Toru, and Kyouka. I have a burning suspicion about Kyouka, in particular, Ishido said. Really? Oh, you mean you think she likes someone? Uraraka said, remembering her incident from the prior day with Jirou, as well as ever. Absolutely. Like I've said, my matchmaking skills are undefeated, and I think I know who it is too, Ishido said. It's gotta be Kaminari, right? They're always hanging out together, although not as much recently, Uraraka said. She felt very much like Ishido herself, as they practically gossiped over Jirou's romantic interests. Guilt was beginning to build up inside of her, coupled with the fact that she knew Jirou did indeed like someone, as well. But she could not help but continue on. Exactly. Yes, see, I thought that at one time, but I think Jirou just sees him as a really good friend. She never gets nervous about him, and we all know how she acts when embarrassed. Now Midoriya on the other hand, said Ishido. Deku? No, no way! Uraraka yelled. Well, that's what I suspect, but it's not certain by any means, so I need more evidence before declaring them as a match. So Ishido waved her hands as she went on. So what? Uraraka said, biting her tongue. The deal is, you'll help me make her fess up at the sleepover. Maybe we get her cornered, maybe we play a game regardless. I'll spare your own secret if you help me out, Ishido said. Uraraka gulped. Jirou potentially likes Midoriya? And now Ishido knows about her own feelings? She hated the idea of embarrassing Jirou, yet she knew how much trouble there would be if Class 1A found out about her own feelings. Besides, she doubted that Jirou actually liked Midoriya like that. Deal, Uraraka said with a swift nod. The evening went by fast for Midoriya and Jirou, as they continued to play their basses together. They talked about things related to heroes, school, and even life in general, before they both gasped when they caught sight of a deep dope-themed clock on the wall. It was 11 p.m. already. Oh wow! Time really does fly when you're having fun, right? Midoriya said, as he took the bass off of his body. I sure wish it wasn't a school night, Jirou said. School night crap. I still have one more assignment to do for tomorrow. Midoriya said. Me too, probably actually I finished earlier today. Good night, Izuku, Jirou said with a frown. Midoriya pushed himself up from his stool, taking his time to savor the moment. As he reached the doorway, he could have sworn that he saw a twinkle in Jirou's eyes. Good night, Kyouka, Midoriya said. As he shut the door quietly, Jirou's frown turned into a faint smile. Not a cheeky grin when she cracked a joke, not a smirk when she teased someone. A true small smile. She felt her eyes water a little, as well. I've never had so much fun playing music before. Midoriya, meanwhile, was already going to the elevator to head back to his room. He too enjoyed the evening, but he was stressed upon realizing that he would have to complete an assignment so late at night. Regardless, he smiled, as he remembered their conversations, and cracked a laugh thinking about a joke Jirou had said. As the doors of the elevator opened to the second floor, Midoriya stepped out, but was stopped in an instant by one of his floormates. Gasp! Izuku Midoriya, not in his room studying on a school night, this late in the evening? Okay, who were you with? You won't hide it from me this time. Tell me all about it too, Minetta said, as he rubbed his hands together. How did you know I wasn't in my room, Minetta? Midoriya said while he scrunched his eyebrows. I knocked on your door a few minutes ago to ask for some advice. So I went downstairs to check on the common room, and what did you know, you're nowhere to be found. So you had to be with some girl upstairs then, Minetta said. Midoriya was mortified. He was not naive of Minetta's daily thoughts, but he was even more creeped out by him suggesting what he had said. What made it even worse for Midoriya was that he was upstairs with a girl, but not in any situation that Minetta would dream of. It was nothing, really. I was just hanging out with a friend, nothing else. I hate to cut this short, but I have to do some homework. I'll see you tomorrow, Midoriya said, dashing past his classmate, as he entered his dorm room. Minetta smirked, as he saw Midoriya's reaction. We'll see about that, you secret lover. About an hour passed for Midoriya, as he continued to work on his assignment. It was a math worksheet with 10 problems related to algebra. Generally, he would knock out a worksheet like this in 30 minutes tops, but he was still on question 7. His mind raced, as he tried to compute the problems. All he could think about was Kyouka Jirou. The night they had shared was filled with fun. Learning how to play bass, along with talking to her more, and more about different things, was so enjoyable for him. He had plenty of nights like this in the past, especially with Uraraka, and Ilda in particular. But it never ran this late on a school night, and he was never so absorbed by it after the fact either. Another half an hour passed, and he finally finished the worksheet. It was 12:30 a.m. No normal 8 hours sleep for him tonight. Ignoring that, he turned off the lights and climbed into bed. He was relieved to finally have all of the day's homework and studying off of the table. But now in bed, with his eyes closed, his mind continued to focus on Jirou. The way she strummed the bass for each note. The way her hair whipped as she sang. The way she used her earphone jacks for small tasks. It was everything to him at this moment. He rubbed his eyes again, rolling around on top of his covers, trying to find a comfortable position to drift into sleep. One roll later, his eyes caught his all-night clock, which read 1:30 a.m. I need you to slow down, brain. I need to sleep, Midoriya said, but his demand was to no avail. Another hour passed. He focused on her voice. Yet another hour passed. He thought about her trademark grin when she poked fun at him. Someone please, help me, Midoriya said. Sleep finally came for Midoriya. When the hour exactly was, he had no idea, but he knew he did eventually drift off due to one thing: the dream he experienced. In the dream, he sat in the classroom, and he was the only student in there at the time. Aizawa slammed his fist on the desk as the clock hit 8 a.m. Damn it! Izuku, where the hell are all of your classmates? Are you the only one who cares about being a hero? Aizawa said. Midoriya was taken aback. While Aizawa certainly had chewed out students before, it was never as serious as this. It even rivaled the lecture Midoriya got all the way back in the quirk apprehension test. I don't know, Aizawa-sensei. They all said. You know what, I'm out. I got shit to do. Midoriya, go to class 1B if you want. I don't even care anymore, Aizawa said, as he somehow ripped his sleeping bag in half, and stormed out of the room. But Aizawa-sensei. But it was too late. Aizawa was gone. Midoriya did not even know how to respond to that meltdown. It was at this point that he realized that he was in a dream, as he saw that several features of the classroom he had meticulously studied over the past few months were different. There was no chalkboard at the front of the room, the chairs were arranged in a different order, and there were 20 All Might posters plastered over the windows. Plus, Aizawa was acting differently than his normal self, so Midoriya knew he had to be in a dream. He moved his fingers, and shuffled his feet. There were 6 fingers on his left hand, and his shoes were the brightest shade of yellow imaginable. This was his first lucid dream, so he took a few moments to gather his bearings. Just as he was about to get up from the desk to explore, he heard footsteps running towards him. Looking up to see who it was, he saw one of his classmates enter the classroom. Hey Izuku! Jirou said with the widest smile he had ever seen anyone have. Oh! Jirou, I mean Kyouka, Midoriya said, as Jirou approached his desk towards the back of the room. I want to know something, Jirou said. She placed her hands on his desk. Jirou's face was now inches away from Midoriya's. Before Midoriya could ask what she was doing, she placed her lips onto his. Midoriya's eyes shot wide open, as she continued on, backing away after 5 seconds. What are you doing? Midoriya said, as he backed his chair up. Jirou grinned. Even better than I thought. I've waited so long for this green. When you left my room last night, I wanted to do that. But I couldn't. Want to try it again? With this, Midoriya woke up. His heart was pounding, and his bed was now a pool of sweat. He had never kissed anyone before, so to experience it in a dream, a lucid dream, nonetheless was a very vivid experience. After he finally calmed down, he began to process what happened. He smiled. There was a twinge in his heart, as he imagined if they had indeed tried it again. I liked it? I don't even know what's going on anymore. He grabbed his phone from the nightstand, and turned off the alarm on his clock. A few swipes later, he composed a text message, and slammed the send button with his thumb. Izuku Midoriya, All Might, I need your help, as soon as possible. Like today during lunch if you could. Before Midoriya could even turn off his phone, his mentor responded. All Might, sure, kiddo. See you then, Midoriya shuddered. There was no denying what had just happened. Not only had he dreamed of kissing Kyouka Jirou, he also longed to do it again. In real life. And he would be seeing her in class in less than an hour. He then heard a knock on his door. Please don't be Kyouka, please don't be Kyouka, please don't be Kyouka, Midoriya muttered under his breath. Midoriya paused. When in the hell did anyone knock on someone's door this early in the morning anyways? Usually everyone was running around to prepare for the day ahead. Bonjour, Midoriya. Are you okay? I heard you scream from next door, Yuga Oyama said, still in his pajamas. Aoyama. I'm fine, thanks. Just stubbed my toe, that's all, Midoriya said. Ah, I see. Well, I have to get ready to look sparkling and fabulous aujourd'hui, and that all starts with a healthy dose of cheese. Care for a piece? Aoyama said, as he held a chunk near Midoriya's face. Not actually, sure, Midoriya said, realizing yes was the only acceptable answer. He plucked the cheese from Aoyama's hands, and the two parted ways. Midoriya remained in the hallway while chewing the hard, cold cheese, almost laughing, as he tried to process his morning so far. He certainly hoped the rest of the day would go smoother. Hey, Green. Midoriya choked on the cheese. He recognized that voice from anywhere. Kyouka Jirou entered the hall, already dressed up for the day. He noticed that she had a dash of makeup on, as well, which was a rare sight to see from her. Midoriya's voice box, however, was shut down. His face was exploding with warm colors of red and pink. He was trapped. Tomorrow I'm going home again for the night. Usually I tell everyone that it's to help my parents clean. Okay, that's part of it, but it's also for a music lesson. Want to join? My parents could totally help you learn bass better than I ever could, Jirou said, as she smiled and twirled her left jack. Midoriya was exasperated. Minutes ago, he dreamed of kissing Jirou. Then, he thought Jirou was at his door, but it was just Aoyama. Now, Jirou was actually in front of him? He pinched himself to see if he was in another dream, but he felt pain, signifying this was reality. Realizing Jirou was still at his doorway expecting an answer, he hastily said anything he could manage to say. Of course I would, sounds fun. Midoriya said. Cool, I'll pack the extra bass then. See you in class, Izuku, Jirou said. As she walked away, Midoriya's knees were shaking. He had officially experienced the craziest morning of his life not involving a villain. Thinking about her again, huh? I'm still ready for the details, bro, Minetta said, walking out of his room to check on the commotion, but Jirou was long gone by the time he joined in. Midoriya turned around and slammed the door to his room. Minetta scratched his purple head and did the same. They both had to get ready for the school day ahead. While they got dressed, Jirou was back in her room. She wiped off the makeup as she stared into her mirror. I can't believe he said yes. It's not like this is a date or anything, but still, it kinda. Her thought process stopped. Midoriya coming over to her house meant that he would be seeing her mother, Mika Jirou, once again. And he would be meeting her father, Kyouka Jirou. What did I just do? The morning passed slowly for Midoriya. While he tried his best to pay attention towards the lectures provided by the teachers, he would occasionally steal a glance at Jirou, but he mentally berated himself for losing focus. Soon, the morning classes were over, and it was time for lunch. As the class walked out together, Uraraka and Ilda caught up with Midoriya. Midoriya! Are you prepared for afternoon classes? Ilda said while he made many motions with his hands. Of course I am, Ilda, thanks, Midoriya said. We need to have lunch first, so let's go together, Deku. Uraraka said. I wish I could, but I have an obligation already. Sorry, Midoriya said with a bow. While Ilda was already walking to the cafeteria, eager to hurry so he could get back to studying in the classroom, Uraraka still stood in the hallway. As Midoriya left her, she sighed. Why is Deku acting differently recently? She whispered under her breath. Jirou was the last of the class to exit the room, and she caught a glance of what had occurred. Without realizing at first, she made eye contact with Uraraka, causing them both to cringe thinking about what had occurred between them a few days ago. Where's Izuku going? Jirou said. I don't know, sorry, Uraraka mumbled. Before Uraraka could say anything else, Jirou left her, as she went to the cafeteria. Uraraka bit her lip when she considered that they would be spending the night together at Yaoyorozu a few days from now, and things were still awkward between them, not to mention Ishido's plan that she was now in on. Wait, did she just call him Izuku? Uraraka said, surprised that they were already close enough to be on a first-name basis. They had been hanging out together a lot recently, sure, but Midoriya had never called Uraraka by her first name yet. With lunch now underway, Midoriya and All Might sat together in the latter's office, ready for their next meeting. Midoriya poked at his rice for a few moments, while All Might chowed away, as he had skipped breakfast. However, once he noticed his student's quiet stance, he put his utensils down, and cleared his throat. Young Midoriya, anything in particular you wanted us to go over for this meeting? All Might said. Meh, I've been working on One for All. I think I might be approaching a new threshold soon. Otherwise, meh, Midoriya said, finally taking a bite of his food. Another few moments passed, and neither of them had said another word. All Might had never seen him like this. Usually, Midoriya was the one to talk non-stop, excited to have the chance to be with his idol. All Might wondered if his novelty had worn off on him, but through his elder intuitions, he figured it was something deeper. Something is bothering you, isn't it? All Might said. Well, guess you could say that, Midoriya said, breaking eye contact. Okay, I can tell something is really, really bothering you. Midoriya, if it's something personal, I don't want to pressure you. I can't stop thinking about someone. Since yesterday after school they've been all I've thought about. And I've never felt this way before, and I couldn't sleep. I'm just so lost, Midoriya almost yelled, letting all of his pent-up frustration out to his mentor. I see. You're thinking about a hero besides me? I thought I was the one you decorated your room with. All Might said with a hearty laugh, prompting Midoriya to blush. He always found Midoriya's fandom to be flattering. And no, not like that. They're not a hero, actually well, technically they could be, but they're not a pro yet, so it would depend on your classification, Midoriya muttered. In other words, a fellow classmate? All Might said. He felt bad for cracking a joke when clearly it was something deeper than hero idolization, but he could not help himself. Yeah, I just can't stop thinking about her no matter what I do. Her? Oh, so this is regarding a very personal situation, I see. Are you sure you want me of all people to be involved? All Might said. I do, plus I don't know who else to tell either. Ugh, I don't want to say who, but All Might, we've been hanging out so much recently out of class, and we just get along so well. It's so much fun being around her. My day is always better when she's there, but I'm worried I'm getting obsessed. I've never felt like this before, Midoriya said. Sounds like a crush to me, All Might grinned. A sea crush? Midoriya said with a blush. All Might nearly choked on his tea. As analytical as his mentee was when it came to quirks, he was shocked that Midoriya was caught off guard by his statement. Please tell me you know what I meant by that, kid, All Might said while he frowned. Oh, of course, it's just I've never been great with girls, so I've never had a crush before. Why am I even telling you that? Midoriya trailed off, looking down at his shoes, and then at a plant on the table between them. Random objects around the room certainly became more interesting in times of pressure. Don't worry, kid. Love is a very confusing emotion. Although romance has never been my strength outside of my youth, what I do know is this: you need to be yourself. It's okay to think about her, but don't let that change your current relationship, All Might said. I appreciate that, but I feel like, how do I put this? That's not really the problem. I actually feel like I can be myself around her, but it's more about the thinking. I want to be able to think about other things besides her every single second. It's only started recently, but I can't keep going like that, Midoriya said. All Might nodded, and took a sip of tea. Midoriya's adamance was very inspiring for him, as he knew despite Midoriya's exceptional critical thinking skills, some situations called for experience first and foremost. Very well then. You saying that brings me back to my days as a hero. Oftentimes when I went to bed, I would lay there for hours, and think about a villain I fought, or a civilian I saved, or how I could improve in a moment of combat, All Might said. But those are important situations to think about, All Might. Thinking through stuff like that allowed you to be number one, after all, Midoriya said, with his eyes now glowing. That's true, but there's a valuable lesson I learned from that. Eventually, I stressed myself out to the point where I was sleep deprived. So, through the hard way, I learned that there is a time and place for everything. A time to focus on fighting. A time to focus on studying. A time to focus on her, All Might said with a smile. Midoriya grinned, as well. All Might could tell that despite his youth, he had picked up on his point right away, and that it seemed to be the key that he needed in that moment. That's perfect. So I can gush about her when I have free time, but when I am in school, I need to focus on studying. Having my thoughts organized in time sessions can make a huge difference. Thank you so much, Midoriya said, now hurling down clumps of rice, as his appetite returned. Sure thing, young Midoriya. I know we generally talk about one for all, but I'll always be here if you ever need advice, too, All Might said, giving Midoriya a thumbs up. Looks like it's almost time to go back to class, Midoriya said, as he checked the time on his phone. I'll see you later, All Might. Have a good afternoon, kid. With a quick wave goodbye, Midoriya left the room, and headed to Class 1A's room for the heroics course that afternoon. All Might cleaned up their garbage from the meal, and afterwards, sat at his desk, and typed on his computer. There were several emails that were yet to be read, including one from Nizu about something administrative, a short reply from Aizawa, and several shopping discount emails from Midnight. As long as he doesn't tell them about One for All, I'll be happy for him if it works out, All Might said with a chuckle. Tuesday passed quickly for Class 1A, as the battle facility was unfortunately undergoing maintenance that day. That called for an in-class discussion on how to improve super moves. Midoriya and Jirou had obligations, and were unable to be together that afternoon, and before they knew it, the school day on Wednesday had concluded, as well. Jirou was back in her room now after class, packing not only her bass and music for the lesson back at home that afternoon, but also an extra bass for Midoriya. Puddles of sweat formed on her hands as she prepared the materials. They won't care. They don't care. He's just another person. It'd be no different than if Kaminari or someone else came over. My parents will not care, Jirou said, putting the final items in her suitcase for the night. A ringtone from her phone then played, and her heart instantly raced faster than before. Izuku Midoriya, I'm in the lobby, so I'm ready when you are. Kyouka Jirou, okay. I'm so screwed, shit, why can't I just act normal? Jirou said, but as she said this, she remembered a phrase. Honestly. Focus. Instinct. Right. I can't give up before it's even started. I gotta be rational, Jirou said, as she remembered Aizawa's advice. As she exited the room, carrying both bass cases, along with her suitcase, she noticed someone walking towards her room. Jirou? Oh, you leaving? Kaminari said. Oh, yeah? Sorry, just going home like usual, Jirou said. Ah, okay then. See you tomorrow, Kaminari said, walking back the other way. Jirou felt bad for having to turn down Kaminari yet again, but she had no other option. Between her schoolwork, hero training, music sessions, and Midoriya, she has been very busy recently. There was barely even time to be with Yaoyorozu, as well, aside from meals and school, but that was also because Yaoyorozu did double the time studying than anyone else. After trudging to the elevator, she went down to the bottom floor, and exited moments later. She saw Midoriya sitting on a couch near the front entrance of their dormitory, although he did not notice her right away. Ready, Izuku? I know learning bass can be difficult, but if you just put in the effort you'll do great, Jirou said. Midoriya turned his head, gazing right into Jirou's eyes, with the widest smile she had ever seen in her life. Sweat had built up around his hairline, and his face lit up with the lightest shade of red. Air then came to his nose, as he took a deep breath. I'll carry the bass you're lending me, Midoriya almost whispered. As they exited the building together, someone peeped their head out from behind a column. They scrunched their eyebrows, and scratched their heads reminiscing on what had just taken place. What the fuck? They're going out again? That raccoon eyes owes me big for all the shit she puts me through. I thought for sure that green-haired nerd would have noticed me, Bakugo said, retreating from the common area once no one was around. The walk from UA to Jirou's house was akin to their first trek together 1 week ago. Quiet. Unlike last time, however, it was not due to hardly knowing one another. They both felt squeamish, as they looked for some opportunity to open up a conversation, unsure of where to begin at that time. After they were halfway to their destination, Jirou finally spoke up. Izuku. Yeah? Midoriya replied. No need to feel jumpy. I know it's a lot to think about, but I promise you, you will do great. Based on our playing session a couple nights ago, you have a lot of talent already, Jirou said while twirling her left jack. If it were any other situation, Midoriya would have laughed harder than Mrs. Joke could ever dream of achieving. However, he was not so concerned about the bass itself, but rather everything else that would go along with it. Her parents, presumably, would be present. He would be in her house. And, most importantly, being with Jirou herself for a whole night. Away from the USA. Maybe the claim he made to all might of being himself around Jirou was a farce all along. Izuku? Are you good? Jirou asked. Oh, of course. Sorry, I was just thinking about stuff, Midoriya said. I see, Jirou said while raising a brow. Moments later, the two saw the Jirou residence, making Jirou relieved, and Midoriya jittery. Once they arrived, they walked through the gateway, and up to the doorway. Jirou opened the door, already unlocked, and upon entering, Midoriya was in awe. The house was way larger than his own apartment, with plenty of open space, and several rooms throughout the first floor. No one was there to greet them, though, allowing him to settle. This house is really nice, Kyouka, Midoriya said. My parents are both in the music industry, so that's why there's musical stuff everywhere. You can't say Jirou without music, Jirou said. And speaking of, your parents, are they here? Midoriya asked. I thought they were going to be here right about now, Jirou said. The two stood in silence together for a few moments once more. She needed an out, somehow, even if it was early. And then the idea came to her. Hey dude, I'll be right back. Just sit down wherever you'd like, Jirou said. Jirou went upstairs, confusing Midoriya. But he went over to a living room area, and sat down on a couch. She went into her bedroom, and changed into more casual clothes, a pale yellow tank top which had a deep dope logo, along with black shorts. It was her normal attire for music lessons with her parents. As she walked back into the hallway, she stopped in her tracks. Dread filled her. I didn't even tell my parents that Midoriya is staying here tonight after the lesson. Meanwhile, downstairs in the living room space, Midoriya was surrounded by cases, and cases of CDs, and trophies on the wall, with each one saying best of something in regards to music. The accolades outnumbered the number of heroes he could name off the top of his head. Whoa, her parents are really talented, how Midoriya muttered. I guess that's one way you could put it, but really, it's just living out our passions every day. Hearing the somewhat familiar voice made Midoriya jump around, and he saw a middle-aged woman looking at him with a smile. She had purple hair, just like Kyouka's shade, and also had earphone jacks. There was no mistaking who she was. You're Kyouka's mother, Midoriya said, pointing at her while standing up, remembering their encounter a week ago. Why yes I am. And you must be Izuku Midoriya? Kyouka Jirou said. Yes I am. Oh, earphone jacks, you must have the same quirk as Kyouka, Midoriya said, ignoring the rushing thoughts to his head, as he pulled out his notebook, and scribbled onto a new page. We share the same quirk, indeed. Kyouka said you love to study heroes and quirks, Mika said, now sitting down on the couch across from Midoriya. Oh, she did. Oh, well, it's kinda my own passion, I guess, Midoriya said. How wonderful. But she also mentioned how much of a natural talent you are when it comes to the bass, Mika said. Well, that might be exaggerating it, Midoriya said, looking down at the bass case on the floor that Kyouka had lended him. Mom? They both looked up to see Kyouka enter the room, closing the door behind her with an earphone jack. Kyouka! I'm so glad you're home. Are you ready for your lesson with Izuku? Mika said. Of course, but I forgot to tell you something, Jirou said, standing next to Midoriya's couch, as she brushed her bangs with her hand. Forgot to tell us what, kiddo? They looked over once more to see a tall, blonde-haired man enter the room, holding several sheets of paper. He had a hearty smile, as he sat down next to Mika. Oh, Dad, it's nothing, actually. Izuku, this is my father, Kyouka Jirou. Dad, this is Izuku from UA, Jirou mumbled, fearing what happened next. Hy Izuku. What's up, man? Ready to rock out? Kyouka said. Somehow, Kyoka made Midoriya tense up even more. He gripped his hand on the arm of the couch, as he looked at all three of them, one by one. They were a family, and he was an outsider that they all just accepted without any questions. Hey now, you don't have stage fright, do ya? It's alright, happens to the best of us, right Mika? Kyouka said. That's enough, Kyouka. He is our guest, after all. Let's go play some bass, you two, Mika said. The four of them left the living room together, as they approached the studio near the front of the house. Midoriya still had not said a word to her father, and that fact was certainly not lost on him. Uraraka sat at her desk, scribbling some notes down from a textbook. After not seeing Midoriya much throughout the school day, she was hoping he would be around after she finished her assignments. A knock then came from her door. Coming, Uraraka said, hoping it was Midoriya that had come to see her. One glance was all it took for her to know her hope was not reciprocated. Hey Uraraka. I've been a little concerned lately. Can we talk about something, if you don't mind? Kaminari said. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.